Chapter 215. The practice room was not big and the light shone on the transparent glass, making the water ripple, giving off a mysterious and tranquil beauty. Sogu, 360, so. Tang Zheng began to search, but the room did not have any cabinets or other places to store things. It was simply empty. Seeing that he had already searched twice but still found nothing, Mu Hongyang said, "Ever since my husband passed away, I have rarely come to this room, but I have not touched a single brick or piece of wood in here." Tang Zheng stopped and lowered his head in contemplation. Magic treasures were very important things, so of course they would not be placed in an open place. He suspected that the heavenly secret Daoist had also secretly infiltrated this home and searched everywhere, so naturally he would not have let go of this practice room. But the other side was like him, not finding anything, which meant that magic treasures were not easy to find. Could it be that the magic treasures are in other places? Tang Zheng was puzzled and asked, "Does he have other places that he often stays in?" Mu Hongyang shook her head. "He spends most of his time cultivating in the practice room." "That's strange. I've already searched twice and did not miss a single detail, so why haven't I found a single clue?" Tang Zheng shook his head in puzzlement. Could it be that he hid the magic treasures in other places? Or could it be that I am not fated to find this magic treasure? Tang Zheng could not help but feel a little discouraged. If he continued to search like this, there would be no need for him to do so even if it was daybreak. It would only make Li Xiaotian suspicious. He shook his head in disappointment and no longer searched, leaving the practice room with Mu Hongyang. "Tang Zheng, I'm sorry, but I really do not have any other useful information to provide," Mu Hongyang said in shame. Tang Zheng casually said, "Magic treasures are something that can only be found by chance. Don't worry, I will still teach Nana techniques, but with Li Xiaotian here, I'm afraid she will find out. So when Nana grows up a bit, I will personally teach her the method of cultivation." Mu Hongyang smiled in relief. "Thank you." After the two of them separated, Tang Zheng quietly sneaked into Fang Shusha's room. Tang Zheng truthfully told her about his conversation with Mu Hongyang. Fang Shusha advised him not to worry about it. Then, after a round of passionate lovemaking, she soothed his soul and fell into a deep sleep. In the next few days, they were not idle. Under the leadership of Mu Hongyang, they toured the mountains and rivers of southern Yunnan. The scenery in Dianan was indeed beautiful. It preserved the most natural scenery, which made Tang Zheng and Fang Shusha, two people who had lived in the city since childhood, very happy. Tang Zheng also temporarily put aside the disappointment of not finding a magic treasure and immersed himself in the mountains and rivers. He found a clue. The spiritual energy in the mountains and rivers was obviously much richer than in the city, even more abundant than in the ordinary Balance Mountain. If it weren't for Li Xiaotian watching from the side, he planned to use the spirit-gathering pill to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the mountains and quietly cultivate for a period of time. Today, they drove to the highest and most dangerous fairy peak in southern Yunnan. It was said that in ancient times, fairies descended to this place, which was how the mountain got its name. The fairy peak was steep, and there was only one winding road up the mountain. Tourists were weaving, but most of them were using vehicles. There were only a few people who hiked up the mountain. Tang Zheng and the others of course went up the mountain by car. After looking around, they saw that it was already late, so they went down the mountain by car. Mu Hongyang personally drove, and Tang Zheng sat in the passenger seat, holding Nana in his arms. This girl was more and more clingy to Tang Zheng, and she wanted to hang on him all the time. She had more authority than Fang Shusha, his official girlfriend. However, no one cared about this child. Instead, they thought she was very cute. The car drove at a constant speed. There was a curve in front of them. Suddenly, there was a violent crash. Then, everyone in the car felt like they were about to fly. "Be careful," Tang Zheng shouted. From the rearview mirror, he saw a huge off-road vehicle hit the butt of their car. "There's a car accident." Mu Hongyang also noticed this and quickly shouted, "Everyone, don't panic." The people in the car were not ordinary people. Except for the initial panic, they didn't make a fuss. "Our car is still sliding forward. Be careful," Tang Zheng reminded, and Mu Hongyang hurriedly stepped on the brakes, but the car's forward momentum still did not stop, because the off-road vehicle behind them was like a roaring beast, pressing against their cars but as it rushed forward. The tires rubbed against the ground, creating several black tire marks. In the blink of an eye, their car was pushed to the edge of the cliff at the curve and hit the railing hard. Their hearts sank. This was not a car accident, but a well-planned assassination. They wanted to knock them off the cliff. Tang Zheng was shocked and shouted, "Shusha, quickly open the door and jump out." Fang Shusha's reaction was very fast, but Li Xiaotian's reaction was faster than hers. He had already unbuckled his seatbelt, kicked open the deformed door, and rushed out like a leopard. Bang bang! 2 muffled gunshots sounded, and the others were shocked. The assassin actually used a gun. This determination was too great. "Shusha, be careful of the gun," Tang Zheng reminded her. Fang Shusha shouted understood and rushed out of the car. A bullet just happened to fall on the door. If she was a second later, she would definitely be hit by the bullet. These people are not ordinary people, Tang Zheng thought, but he didn't have time to think about who sent the other party and who the target was. The only thought in his mind now was to escape. It was not difficult for him to escape, but it was not so easy for Mu Hongyang. After all, she didn't know martial arts. In her panic, she didn't even have time to unbuckle her seatbelt. Then, with a loud bang, the car slammed into the railing, and half of it was suspended in the air. Mu Hongyan's side of the door was severely deformed because of the impact, and the huge impact made her stuck in the seat, unable to move. She subconsciously let out a scream. When Nana saw this, she cried loudly. She was in Tang Zheng's arms and was not injured, but when the child saw this scene, she was instinctively afraid. "Mom!" Nana cried out. Mu Hongyang shouted, "Tang Zheng, hurry up and save Nana. Don't worry about me. You hang in there. I'll come to save you after I get Nana out." The situation was urgent, and Tang Zheng didn't have time to think. He kicked the door and rushed out. Bang bang, bullets rained down on Tang Zheng, causing dust to fly around him. Tang Zheng simply had no way to put Nan Nan down, so he could only tightly hug her in his embrace to prevent her from being hit by the bullets. With a casual glance, he saw 4 black muzzles poking out of the off-road vehicle's window, aiming at them and shooting. Damn it, who are these people? How could they use such powerful firepower? Tang Zheng gnashed his teeth in hatred, but found that Fang Shusha and Li Xiaotian were lying on the ground, not daring to show their heads. These gunmen were too hateful. They must know that they knew martial arts, so they used their firepower to suppress them. "We can't go on like this." Tang Zheng glanced back and found that the car was tilting away from the cliff. If they didn't get rid of these gunmen, they wouldn't have time to save Mu Hongyang. So, she pushed Nana into Fang Shusha's arms and said, "Protect Nana. Be careful. I'll get rid of these people. Be careful." It was the first time that Fang Shusha had faced such a thrilling situation. She couldn't help but be excited and scared. Whoosh! Tang Zheng rushed out, and the bullets almost brushed past his body. He roared, and with a wave of his hand, a few stones that he picked up in passing shot into the windshield. Puff! Under the broken windshield, the driver was hit by a stone on the spot, and suddenly fell on the steering wheel. Suddenly, the off-road vehicle sped up. At such a close distance, Tang Zheng could even see the surprise on the faces of the other gunmen. Obviously, they didn't expect Tang Zheng's reaction to be so fast. Moreover, the driver stepped on the gas pedal before he died, so the off-road vehicle rushed toward Tang Zheng like a runaway horse. Tang Zheng quickly moved aside. Seeing the off-road vehicle speeding past him, Tang Zheng quickly grabbed the window with his arm and flew to the roof of the car. Bang! 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 The gunman found Tang Zheng's trace and aimed at the roof of the car and pulled the trigger. Tang Zheng didn't stay on the roof of the car. Instead, he lightly jumped over the roof and flipped to the other side. From the other side of the window, he punched a gunman in the face. Suddenly, the gunman's face exploded and blood flowed out. He died on the spot. Tang Zheng was furious. Just this punch alone was enough to kill. The remaining 2 gunmen shouted, "Shoot him, kill him, kill him." The gunshots were loud, but after all, 2 gunmen were dead. The threat to Tang Zheng was greatly reduced. Tang Jing smoothly grabbed the hand holding the gun from the front passenger seat and pulled it hard. The pistol was in his hand. Tang Jing didn't hesitate. He turned the muzzle, aimed at the other gunman in the back seat, and pulled the trigger. Although Tang Jing had never used a gun at such a close distance, and his hand was very steady, his palm felt a little recoil. The muzzle didn't shake at all. The bullets poured out and completely shot into the enemy's body. When the last gunman saw this, his face turned pale with fright. He screamed and wanted to resist. Tang Jing smashed the gun on the gunman's head. Blood flowed out, and the gunman fainted. Tang Jing, be careful. Suddenly, Fang Shusha screamed. Before Tang Jing had time to react, he felt a huge impact. If he hadn't grabbed the window tightly, he would have been thrown out. Then, he saw a frightening scene. The off-road vehicle hit Mu Hongyan's car, and the two cars fell off the cliff at the same time. Tang Jing's body was also in midair. He felt a biting cold wind blowing from the cliff, and he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Mu Hongyan's scream came from the car. Tang Jing almost didn't think. He jumped up, and the two cars and one person fell down the cliff. Chapter 216. This scene scared Fang Shusha so much that she screamed, "Tang Zheng, brother godly doctor, mom." Nana also burst into tears. Her tender little face was filled with fear. Her tears were like pearls rolling down her cheeks. Please add, Li Xiaotian also smacked her lips. It was hard to hide her surprise. He really dared to jump. Tang Zheng threw himself onto Mu Hongyan's car and quickly got into the car. He saw Mu Hongyan's face was ashen. She was already in despair. When she saw Tang Jing, Mu Hongyang shouted in surprise, "What are you doing here? I said I would save you. Naturally, I will come to save you." Tang Jing pulled out War Soul from under the seat. He even brought War Soul with him when he came out for a trip. War Soul flashed with a black light and slashed the other side of the car door. Mu Hongyang immediately regained her freedom. Tang Zheng quickly held her in his arms and rushed out of the car. The mountain wind whistled. The two of them stood on the roof of the rapidly falling car. They found that the car had already fallen more than 100 meters. Tang Zheng could only see Fang Shusha's face full of concern at the edge of the cliff. He also heard the heart-wrenching cries. Tang Zheng's heart thumped as he thought to himself that the situation was not good. He had overestimated himself. Even though he did all of this in a short amount of time, under the influence of gravity, the speed of the car's descent was even faster than the speed at which he saved people. The distance of falling more than 100 meters was almost instantaneous. Now, Tang Zheng had no way to rush to the top of the mountain. He was unwilling to give up. With a tap of his foot, he heavily stepped on the roof of the car. The two of them quickly rose into the air. However, they were still unable to rush to the top of the cliff that was more than 100 meters high. Then, the two of them quickly fell down like cannonballs. The mountain wind whistled in their ears. Tang Zheng held the sword in one hand and Mu Hongyang in the other. His expression gradually changed. This was a cliff that was thousands of meters high. If he fell down, he would definitely be smashed to pieces. Not even his ashes would be left. Mu Hongyang felt her entire body turn cold. Was she going to die just like that? He would never be able to see Nana again. He would not be able to accompany her as she grew up. "Nana!" She shouted loudly, but her voice was drowned out by the whistling mountain wind. Indescribable sorrow and despair welled up in her heart, but when she saw Tang Jing holding her, she felt even more guilty. He actually risked his life to save her. "Tang Zheng, you shouldn't have saved me. Now you're going to fall off the cliff with me." The mountain wind howled, and she finally managed to finish her sentence. Tang Zheng forced a smile. "I promised to save you, so I naturally had to do it. But it seems that I didn't do it in the end. I can't save you." "I'm sorry, Tang Zheng." Mu Hongyan's face revealed a look of despair. Tang Zheng could no longer see Fang Shusha's face above his head. He only felt that he was falling faster and faster. He turned his face with difficulty and found that the ground was getting closer and closer. It was pitch black. Boom. The two cars hit the ground first, splashing up pitch black soil. He used all his strength to hold on to Mu Hongyang. He used the ancient clear heaven scroll and mobilized all his true qi to cover his whole body. He hoped that his body could offset the impact of the fall. Peng. With a muffled sound, Tang Zheng felt a huge pain spread throughout his body. Then his vision turned black and he lost consciousness. At the top of the mountain, Fang Shusha's throat was almost hoarse from shouting. If she was not holding Nana in her arms, she would have jumped down without a care for her own safety. Li Xiaotian looked at all of this in disbelief. Tang Zheng actually died like this. No matter how rich her imagination was, she would never have thought of this scene. She had always wanted to find out more about Tang Zheng, but now everything was meaningless. Fang Shusha, don't cry. It's useless crying. Li Xiaotian persuaded. Go away, you bad woman. Fang Shusha angrily roared. Nana had long been sobbing. Mom, brother godly doctor, where did you go? Nana wants to see you, sob sob sob. Li Xiaotian stood to the side resentfully. She looked at the bottomless cliff and did not say a word. This big movement had attracted everyone's attention. Many passing tourists stopped to watch. All the cars stopped and traffic was congested. However, no one dared to step forward. This was not an ordinary traffic accident, but an assassination. Ordinary people did not dare to act rashly and could only watch from afar. Not long after, the police station in the scenic area came. They controlled the scene and evacuated the guests. The news of Mu Hongyang being attacked and falling off the cliff was immediately transmitted back. Mu Hongyang was a celebrity in Dianan. It could be said that she was a household name. After all, she was in charge of the Long family's huge business empire. Moreover, she was capable and beautiful. Of course, she could attract many people's attention and was the object of admiration. Not long after, a helicopter flew to the edge of the cliff and hovered above their heads. Whiz! A person jumped down from a height of more than 10 meters and landed lightly on the ground, safe and sound. Hiss! Many people sucked in a breath of cold air. An expert. This was a real expert. Everyone stared at this expert with wide eyes. It was a hale and hearty old man, Long Shenyuan. Long Shenyuan stood at the edge of the cliff with a gloomy face. He looked down and then retracted his gaze. Almost no one dared to breathe. The atmosphere was extremely oppressive and the scene was extremely quiet. Who did it? No one answered his question, and no one knew the answer. The scene fell into a dead silence. Long Xuanyuan's anger seemed to be about to explode at any time. No one dared to approach him. He took a deep breath and suppressed his anger. He asked again, Hongyang and Tang Zheng really fell off the cliff? Li Xiaotian finally spoke. He nodded and said, I saw it with my own eyes. Fang Shusha sobbed and said, Master Long, you must find them. You must save them. Nana, who had fainted because of sadness, woke up again. When she saw Long Shenyuan, she immediately threw herself into his arms and cried, Grandpa, Mom and brother godly doctor fell. You must save them. Nana wants them. A trace of pain and love flashed through Long Xuanyuan's eyes. He patted his granddaughter's shoulder and comforted her. Nana, don't worry. Grandpa will definitely find them. They will be fine. Yes, I believe they are still alive. Fang Shusha nodded firmly. Long Shenyuan and Li Xiaotian looked at her in surprise. They didn't know where her confidence came from. This was a cliff that was thousands of meters high. No matter who fell, they would be smashed to pieces. Long Shenyuan might have been infected by Fang Shusha's persistence. He said, I will send people to search immediately. The helicopter circled around and immediately dived down to the bottom of the mountain to begin the search. Long Shenyuan, on the other hand, brought Fang Shusha and the others to the car and returned to the small villa by the lake. The news of Mu Hongyang being attacked and falling off the cliff quickly spread to the ears of the various forces in Dianan. Everyone wondered if they had heard wrongly. Mu Hongyang being attacked and falling off the cliff, was this a joke? There was actually someone who dared to do such a thing in Dianan. Before everyone's shock subsided, Long Xuanyuan's anger followed closely behind. Several forces that were secretly opposing the Long family were swept away at a speed that was as easy as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. The atmosphere of the entire Dianan became oppressive, and an inexplicable pressure pervaded the air. Everyone immediately expressed that this matter was not done by them. The Long family was a veritable local tyrant in Dianan. Many people relied on the Long family to make a living. Assassinating Mu Hongyang was like poking a hornet's nest. Long Shenyuan didn't listen to one side of the story. Not only did he continue to send a large number of people to investigate, but he also focused on the investigation of the gunman. In the end, the investigation found that a group of foreign assassins had recently appeared in Dianan, and this matter was done by them. This group of foreign assassins obviously didn't know Mu Hongyan's identity, so they only thought of her as an ordinary rich person. They never thought that she would have such a prominent identity. It was no wonder. The local forces in Dianan knew how terrifying this matter was. It was simply impossible to do it. Only the foreign forces didn't know the details and poked such a big hornet's nest. The search of the helicopter quickly came to a preliminary result. There was a large area of forbidden death below the fairy peak. The people of Dianan were very clear about it. There were many swamps in this area, and miasma filled the air. The search was very difficult, and for the time being, the bodies of the two people had not been found. The so-called most beautiful place was often the most dangerous place. The fairy peak was like this. The scenery at the top of the mountain was beautiful, but at the bottom of the mountain was an endless forbidden death zone. It was connected with other undulating mountains, and was a primitive mountain range. Even though the tourism industry was developed, Dianan did not develop this primitive mountain range. This was because ferocious beasts ran rampant, swamps were everywhere, and miasma filled the air. Once an ordinary person inhaled a large amount of miasma, it was enough to be fatal. Moreover, the countless swamps were like bloody mouths, swallowing the lives of those who entered. Every year, there were many exploration teams that entered this forbidden death zone, but they never came out again. In the past few years, there were fewer and fewer people exploring. Everyone gradually understood that this forbidden death zone was the hunting ground of the Grim Reaper, and it was better not to touch it. Under the pressure of Long Shenyuan, his subordinates wore gas masks and searched this small area for 3 days and 3 nights, but they still found nothing. Many people thought that although they did not find the bodies, they must have been swallowed by the swamps that ate people without spitting out the bones. The Long family fell into a state of sadness, but there were some people who were not sad. Long Tengyu had been secretly happy for the past few days, and he was extremely happy. This was because the real culprit of this assassination was him. He had specially invited foreign forces to do this business in order to not expose himself. Now, he had finally gotten what he wanted. However, he also had a little regret. He had originally planned to kill Tang Zheng alone, and then capture Mu Hongyang alive. This way, he could fulfill his wish and get Mu Hongyang, this beauty, into bed. However, Tang Zheng's reaction was too intense. He directly killed the other party's driver, causing both parties to fall off the cliff. Although it was a little regretful, Long Tengyu was still very happy, because his gaze was fixed on other prey. Since Tang Zheng was dead, then his beautiful girlfriend had become an ownerless object. Without Mu Hongyang, then let Fang Shusha take over. Chapter 217. Tang Zheng regained consciousness and found that his entire body was in incomparable pain, as if he had fallen apart. It was as if every bone in his body was broken and his muscles were torn apart. He had never tasted this kind of pain before. Quick update, no ads, coming soon. He let out a painful groan before he adapted to the pain. Then, he took a deep breath and used a lot of strength to slowly open his eyes. His eyelids were so heavy that it felt like they were filled with lead. When he finally opened his eyes, a dim light entered his vision. The scene in his field of vision slowly condensed together and projected on his retina. This was a dim wooden house. The wind was blowing all around, and there was light coming in through the cracks in the wood. Tang Zheng was lying on a cold wooden bed. His body was tied to the bedboard by ropes, making him unable to move. What's going on? Why am I tied up? Didn't I fall off the cliff with Mu Hongyang? Shouldn't I be dead? Is this the ghost realm? No, Tang Zheng had heard a little about the ghost realm from Tian Chanzi. This was definitely not the ghost realm. Moreover, after people died, they became ghosts and were muddle-headed. How could they be as clear-headed as he was? He could still remember everything that happened before, and the feeling of his body was so real. I'm not dead. Tang Jing immediately judged this point. Although his whole body was in unbearable pain, this news still made him very excited. As long as he was not dead, there was still hope. But who saved him? Why did they help him? And, where was this place? A series of questions came one after another, and he felt a splitting headache. It seemed that the injury was too serious to even think about it. Let's check the condition of my body first. Tang Jing hurriedly operated. The true fire in his sea of consciousness was dim, and the purple flame was half of what it used to be. The true qi in his body was almost exhausted. Almost all the bones in his body had different degrees of damage. His arm and leg bones were broken, and several of his ribs were broken. His muscles were also torn, and even his internal organs were shaken and displaced. If he had not used his true qi to protect the key parts of his body, he was afraid that the situation would be worse. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. His body's condition was unprecedentedly bad. Even if he wasn't tied up, he wouldn't be able to move. However, the most important thing now was to figure out where he was and whether the person who had saved him was an enemy or a friend. And what about Mu Hongyang? Is anyone there? He called weakly. Creak. The door was pushed open, and a young man with a gloomy face walked in. His eyes were like an eagle's, bright and spirited. Thank you for saving me. May I ask where this place is? Tang Jing finally let out a sigh of relief and asked impatiently. The young man didn't say a word, looking down at him like a tiger eyeing its prey. Tang Jing's head thumped. This look is not good. I didn't do anything bad. Is there a need to be so hostile? Hello. Tang Jing tried to say hello again. The young man didn't move, making Tang Jing wonder if he was a mute. Their eyes met, and after a moment, the young man coldly asked, "Who are you?" Tang Jing let out a sigh of relief. Since the young man spoke, then there was a way to communicate, so he quickly said, "I am an ordinary person. I fell from the top of a cliff and woke up here. Was it you who saved me? Thank you. Also, I have a companion. I don't know how she is." The young man didn't answer. Tang Jing secretly felt bad. Could it be that Mu Hongyang died? Then Nana would become a real orphan. She didn't die. The young man suddenly said. Tang Jing almost rolled his eyes. Can you not speak so slowly? You almost scared me to death. You are a liar, not a good person. The young man decisively said. Tang Jing was stunned. How did I become a liar? You don't even know me. You are lying. You are not an ordinary person. The young man said. Not an ordinary person. Tang Jing's head trembled, and his face became serious. Could it be that the other party discovered something? He didn't have time to think about this problem when a burst of footsteps sounded, getting closer and closer. He saw an old man surrounded by a group of people walk in. This old man had a head full of snow-white hair and a long beard. His face was full of wrinkles and his face was somewhat pale, but his eyes were full of wisdom, as if they could see through people's hearts. The old man sat down in front of the bed and stared at Tang Jing without blinking. He asked in an amiable manner, "This little brother, you fell off the cliff and were saved by my clansmen when they were hunting. Now you are safe." Tang Jing said that he was afraid it might not be safe, but after all, it was the other party who saved him. He hurriedly said, "Thank you for saving my life. I have a few questions to ask, little brother." The old man politely said. Tang Jing was a fish on the chopping block, so he naturally couldn't refuse. He softly said, "Please ask. Is this your sword?" The old man took out a sword from behind him and asked. Tang Jing's eyes narrowed. This was his war soul sword. He didn't expect it to fall into the hands of the other party, but he was relieved. At least the war soul sword was not lost, otherwise he would have suffered a great loss. Seeing the other party ask about the war soul sword so seriously, Tang Jing hesitated. Should he admit that this was his sword or not? The elder asked you a question. Why are you hesitating? You must be thinking of how to lie. Elder, This person is definitely not a good person. You must not believe his words. The young man from before said with hostility. The elder turned a deaf ear and still looked at Tang Zheng without batting an eyelid, waiting for his answer. Even the people behind him held their breaths and looked at Tang Zheng at the same time. Being looked at by so many complicated eyes, Tang Zheng felt an indescribable pressure. He didn't know the consequences of admitting or not, and he couldn't figure out the other party's background. In the end, he hesitated for a long time and decided to tell the truth. This is my sword. The elder's eyebrows showed a trace of undetectable excitement, but it was caught by Tang Zheng. He knew that he had made the right bet. Then may I ask who little brother is? The elder asked again. The young man quickly said, Elder, I have already asked him this question. He did not tell the truth and said that he was an ordinary person. The elder waved his hand, indicating that the other party should not speak. He then looked at Tang Zheng, waiting for his answer. Tang Zheng was puzzled. How should he answer this question? What was the other party's intention? I am just an ordinary person who accidentally fell off the cliff with a friend. A light flashed in the elder's eyes as he said, If little brother is just an ordinary person, then I am powerless. Your injuries will cripple you for the rest of your life, and you will lie in bed for the rest of your life. Then you can only stay here until you die of old age. Tang Zheng knew that his injuries were very serious, but according to his words, he had still underestimated the severity of his injuries. More importantly, the other party seemed to be preparing to leave him behind and lie in bed for the rest of his life. Tang Zheng did not dare to imagine what kind of life that would be. Moreover, he still had to take care of his grandfather, stay with Fang Shusha, and ordinary balance his huge career. All of this made it impossible for him to stay out of it and be a cripple here. However, he still could not figure out what the other party wanted to hear. Could it be that the other party had discovered some clues from the War Soul Sword? Logically speaking, in the eyes of ordinary people, the War Soul Sword was only a little sharper and could be considered a treasure sword. Unless one could tell that the War Soul Sword was a magic treasure, it would not be able to attract such attention. I want to see my friend first. In the end, Tang Zheng did not reveal his identity as a cultivator. This identity was too important. If the other party was an enemy, then he could forget about living. Therefore, he was prepared to delay for a period of time and observe the situation here first. The elder smiled. Sure, I'm not in a hurry to know the answer. It won't be too late for you to tell me when you've thought it through. However, you can't drag this on for too long, otherwise you'll end up with a chronic illness for the rest of your life. After pausing for a moment, he turned to the young man and said, Yuan, take him to see his friend later. Yes, elder. Yuan respectfully accepted the order. The elder brought the War Soul Sword and the others out of the small wooden house. Only Tang Zheng and Yuan were left in the room. Yuan obviously did not have a good expression on his face towards Tang Zheng. With a gloomy face, he said, No matter how glib your tongue is, I will not believe you. You better not have any bad ideas, otherwise I will mercilessly break your head. Tang Zheng smiled bitterly. I'm about to become a cripple, what bad ideas can I have? Yuan coldly snorted, as if he agreed with his words. Please untie the rope and help me to see my friend. Tang Zheng said. Why do you want to untie the rope? Let me tell you, if you don't tell the truth, don't even think about getting me to untie the rope. Then how am I supposed to meet my friend? You can't just tie me to the bed and carry me there. Tang Zheng said doubtfully. You want to lift your small body? You're simply insulting me. Yuan was indignant. Then, he grabbed the wooden bed with one hand and gently lifted it up. Even though Tang Zheng's nerves were thick, he couldn't help but feel his eyelids twitch when he saw this scene. If he didn't circulate his energy, he wouldn't be able to lift such a heavy thing with one hand with just his physical strength. However, if he circulated his energy, his strength would increase explosively, so it was possible for him to do so. However, the key point was that this Yuan didn't feel any true qi or inner strength fluctuations from his body. This was very terrifying. Tang Zheng couldn't help but mutter to himself. Just who was the other party? And that elder, although he didn't look much different from an ordinary old man, to be able to make this Yuan be so respectful, he couldn't be an ordinary person. In short, the identities of this group of people were extremely mysterious, and now that he had become their captive, it was hard to predict his fate. Looking at the surprise in Tang Zheng's eyes, a trace of pride flashed across Yuan's eyes. He said, "I am the most powerful person in the younger generation of our clan. If you dare to act rashly, I will kill you easier than killing an ant." As he spoke, Yuan walked out of the wooden house with the wooden bed. It was noon and the sun was high in the sky. Tang Zheng subconsciously closed his eyes. After adapting to the sunlight, he slowly opened his eyes again and couldn't help but be dumbstruck. Chapter 218. A huge circular plaza appeared in front of Tang Zheng. This plaza was the size of 2 football fields. The ground of the plaza was extremely flat, and the ground was carved with complicated patterns. The most eye-catching thing was the 4 huge stone statues around the plaza. The stone statues were about 10 feet tall and bathed in the sunlight, emitting a mysterious aura. These stone statues were lifelike, no different from ordinary people. Looking closely, it was as if the stone statues were also looking at him. A soul-stirring power reached straight into his heart, causing him to feel deep veneration. Seeing Tang Zheng staring straight at the stone statue, Yuan said proudly, "This is the guardian of my clan, isn't it spectacular?" Tang Zheng swallowed his saliva. To tell the truth, he had never seen such a tall and spectacular stone statue with his own eyes before. He sincerely said, "Spectacular. The guardian god has protected my clan for countless years. Even the elders don't know when they appeared." Yuan sighed. "What clan are you from?" Tang Zheng realized that the other party's clothes were still different from his. They were basically coarse linen clothes, which were already very rare. Furthermore, they all had long hair, just like ancient people. Ancient people? Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. He raised his eyes and looked into the distance. The plaza was surrounded by scattered houses, and outside was a forest that covered the sky and covered the sun. Tang Zheng looked into the distance from the top of the fairy peak and discovered that there were vast mountains that stretched to the end of his line of sight. Although they were not as high as the fairy peak, they occupied an extremely large area, giving people a strong visual impact. Tang Zheng stood on the flat ground, unable to see what was behind the forest that covered the sky, but he also felt that it was an endless forest. In other words, he was currently in the vast forest that he had seen before. Wasn't it said that this was a forbidden zone of death, filled with miasma and swamps that were not suitable for human survival? How could there be humans? His heart was in turmoil. These people were dressed strangely. Could it be that they were from some tribe that lived in seclusion here? Tang Zheng could not make up his mind. If they were really an ancient tribe that lived in seclusion here, how could they avoid the detection of such high-tech satellites with such advanced technology? After all, with such a huge square and these mysterious stone statues standing in broad daylight, the low Earth orbit satellites that were tens of thousands of meters above the ground would definitely notice them. Hearing his question, Yuan glanced at him warily and said, "You want to get information from me? No way." Yuan's progress was like flying. Holding the wooden bed, he quickly arrived at a house at the edge of the plaza. This house was obviously much better than the house Tang Zheng lived in. From afar, Tang Zheng saw a familiar figure sitting in front of the house. His eyes were blank, and he was holding his chin with one hand. He was staring at the square in a daze. Mu Hongyang. Tang Zheng recognized her at a glance. She was safe and sound under the protection of Tang Zheng's body. Mu Hongyang also saw Tang Zheng on the wooden bed. With a whoosh, she jumped up and quickly walked up to him. She cried out in surprise, "Tang Zheng, are you okay? He won't die for the time being." Tang Zheng forced out a smile, but it affected his muscles. A heart-wrenching pain assaulted him, causing his smile to be uglier than crying. Mu Hongyang patted her chest and said with lingering fear, "I thought something bad had happened to you. These people never told me about you." While they were talking, Tang Zheng had already been put down. Mu Hongyang finally saw his appearance clearly. He was actually tied up. Immediately, she raised her eyebrows and stared at Yuan. "What are you doing? Why are you tying him up?" Yuan said coldly, "Of course it's to prevent him from escaping. We are free. If we want to leave, we can leave." What right do you have to stop us? Mu Hongyang roared angrily, like an angry lioness. Yuan remained unmoved and said, "He is my captive. Before he tells the truth, I will never let him escape." "Captive? You put us under house arrest. This is against the law." Mu Hongyang complained. "Against the law?" Yuan was stunned for a moment, then laughed out loud. "Our elders are the law here. I am following the elders' orders. How could I break the law?" Tang Zheng knew that talking to this kid was nonsense, so he hurriedly stopped Mu Hongyang and said, "Do you still remember what happened to us?" Mu Hongyang shook her head blankly. "I only remember that the two of us fell off the cliff together, and when we woke up, we were already here. Fortunately, you used your body to save me, and I am safe and sound. We have been here for 2 days, and I have been asking for your news, but they did not tell me at all." As she spoke, she angrily glared at Yuan, but Yuan acted as if he did not see it. He only pricked up his ears to listen to the conversation between the two, as if he wanted to discover some secret from the conversation. 2 days? You mean we've been here for 2 days? Tang Zheng was shocked. Could it be that he had been unconscious for 2 days? Mu Hongyang said with a sad expression, "Yes, it's been 2 days. Our family must be worried to death about us. We have to hurry back." Tang Zheng obviously knew that his family members were burning with anxiety. It was very likely that they all thought that he had fallen off the cliff and died. However, the key point was that it was not easy to leave this place. Furthermore, he was injured and could not move. "Don't be impatient. We will definitely go back. I promise you," Tang Zheng said firmly. Mu Hongyang looked into his eyes and her heart softened. Tang Zheng had fallen off the cliff in order to save her, and if it wasn't for protecting her, he wouldn't have been injured to such an extent. All these years, no one had ever dared to give up their lives for her. Her heart seemed to be melting. Hearing Tang Zheng's promise, she did not doubt it. Instead, she believed it without hesitation. She nodded and said, "I believe you. We will definitely leave this place." Yuan scoffed and sneered disdainfully, "Without the help of our clansmen, even if your body recovers, it would be impossible for you to leave this 10,000 huge mountains." Their expressions couldn't help but darken. "All right, you've seen your friend. Let's go back," Yuan said. Mu Hongyan's expression suddenly changed. She grabbed onto the wooden bed tightly and shouted, "No, he's injured. I want to take care of him. You can't take him away." These 2 days were definitely torture for Mu Hongyang. She didn't know anyone and everyone looked at her with vigilance. Now that she finally saw Tang Zheng, how could she let him leave her? Unknowingly, Tang Zheng was able to stabilize her mind and give her peace of mind. She had already treated Tang Zheng as her pillar of support. Yuan frowned and said unhappily, "You've already seen each other. If you still want to stay together, there's no way." As he spoke, he was about to gather the wooden bed together. "No, he's already injured to such an extent. He can't be left unattended." Mu Hongyang desperately grabbed onto the wooden bed and refused to let go. Yuan glared angrily. Why were these two so troublesome? He was not a person who would take pity on the fairer sex. He directly raised his hand and Mu Hongyang fell into the air. Seeing this, Tang Zheng hurriedly stopped him and said, "Stop, let us stay together. Otherwise, you won't be able to get my answer. You dare to threaten me?" Yuan flew into a rage. His other hand clenched into a fist, as if he could smash Tang Zheng's head at any moment. However, Tang Zheng acted as if he did not see it. He stared straight at Yuan and did not back down. "I am threatening you, so what can you do? Do you believe that I won't blow your head off with one punch? Haha, all right, then come. Since I've already become like this, I don't care if I take another punch." Tang Zheng laughed. Yuan was startled. This person was really not afraid of death. Of course, he did not dare to kill Tang Zheng. Otherwise, the elder would skin him alive. "If you can't make the decision, you can ask your elder," Tang Zheng said. "Just you wait, I will never let you succeed." Yuan angrily put down the wooden bed. Mu Hongyang landed on the ground again. Her legs went soft as she laid on the bed, exhaling like an orchid. Yuan angrily left and went to ask for instructions from the elder. Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyang could finally be alone. He hurriedly said in a low voice, "Have you found any useful information in the past 2 days?" Mu Hongyang took a deep breath and said, "In the past 2 days, I have been restricted from moving too far, but I have also seen some things. This is obviously an ancient tribe that lives in seclusion in the 10,000 mountains. It was hard to imagine that there was such an ancient tribe living in the death-forbidden zone in everyone's eyes. They hunt for a living. Every day, I can see people carrying the corpses of ferocious beasts back. The people of this tribe seem to be extremely strong, and there are hundreds of them. Then is there any way to leave this place?" Mu Hongyang shook her head. "There are people guarding every exit, and the houses are surrounded by high fences, so there is no way to escape. Just like what that person said earlier, this is the depths of the 10,000 mountains, and other than them, it would be very difficult for outsiders to leave." As she spoke, her expression couldn't help but darken. She originally thought that she would die without a doubt, but she didn't expect to be saved. However, just as she escaped from the gates of hell, she entered the tiger's den and fell into the hands of this mysterious tribe who she didn't know if they were enemies or friends. "Tang Zheng, let me see if your injuries are serious." "Are they serious?" Mu Hongyang asked worriedly. Tang Zheng laughed bitterly. "I can still hold on for a few days with this injury, but I'm afraid it's hard to say if I can recover in the end. I don't even know how many bones I have broken." Mu Hongyan's eyes reddened and she was about to cry. She was originally a strong woman, but at this moment, she was especially sensitive. She said shamefully, "Tang Zheng, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. If you didn't save me, you wouldn't have become like this." Tang Zheng squeezed out a smile and said, "Don't say this, let's think about how to leave this place." Mu Hongyang wiped the corner of her eyes and said, "First of all, we should think of a way to cure your injuries." Tang Zheng secretly sighed. He didn't even have the most basic medicine, so treating his injuries was easier said than done. However, if he didn't treat his injuries, they wouldn't be able to leave. Dong dong dong. A burst of hurried footsteps could be heard. Yuan returned with an unfriendly expression. Tang Zheng's heart moved, and said, "Elder, have you agreed?" Yuan coldly snorted, "I'm warning you, don't have any bad ideas. Hurry up and tell the truth, otherwise I won't let you off." As he said that, he broke the rope on Tang Zheng's body and lifted him up with one hand. He entered the house and placed him on Mu Hongyan's bed. Then, he picked up the wooden bed outside the house and left unwillingly. Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. Staying with Mu Hongyang would at least make it easier to communicate and understand everything here. Mu Hongyang was also overjoyed. Before Tang Zheng could be happy, he felt a strong urge to urinate in his lower abdomen. He had been unconscious for 2 days, and now he wanted to pee. Chapter 219. Tang Zheng's cheeks were flushed red, and he found it hard to speak. Mu Hongyang noticed that he was acting strangely and quickly bent down. Her shirt collar revealed a large area of snow white, and the buttons were almost bursting out of it. "Tang Zheng, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" Tang Zheng couldn't move, and he couldn't solve the problem by himself. Could it be that a living person was going to be suffocated to death by urine? He didn't want to die so sullenly, so he stammered, "I want to go to the toilet." Mu Hongyang finally understood why his face was so red. She couldn't help but feel a little shy and sad. If it wasn't to save her, how could he not even be able to do such a small thing? So, she didn't hesitate to ask, "The big one, or the small one?" "The small one." Tang Zheng's voice was like a mosquito. Wasn't his skin very thick? How could he be so shy at this time? "You can't move. Wait for me." Mu Hongyang quickly ran out, leaving Tang Zheng sighing. He had to find a way to get better, otherwise he would be crippled for the rest of his life. If he couldn't even take care of himself, then it would be better to kill him. Mu Hongyang rushed in again, holding a chamber pot in her hand. "Don't move, I'll help you." Mu Hongyang took a deep breath and pretended to be calm as she calmly said. Although she was a married person, this was the first time she had done this kind of thing for someone. She couldn't help but feel a little flustered, but more than that, she felt shy. "Mu Hongyang, What kind of nonsense are you thinking? Tang Zheng is your benefactor, and the reason he is enduring such pain is all to save you. Moreover, he is only a child in his teens, so how can you have such unbearable thoughts? Mu Hongyang asked herself, and gradually calmed her emotions. Seeing her unzip his pants, Tang Zheng wished he could find a hole to hide in. He never thought that he would have a day like this. Suddenly, he felt his little brother being grabbed. The soft touch made his mind ripple. Most importantly, this was F*King exciting. F*CK, this is torture. Tang Zheng cried out in his heart. Mu Hongyang had already grabbed his little brother and aimed it at the mouth of the chamber pot. Mu Hongyang said, "It's done." Tang Zheng quickly discarded all distracting thoughts. The urge to pee hit him, and his whole body relaxed. The sound of water splashing could be heard. He wished he could finish peeing as soon as possible, but he had accumulated too much in the past 2 days. It was as if there was no end to it. The two of them tacitly remained silent, and the only sound left in the room was the sound of running water. Mu Hongyang concentrated on looking at the little thing. Although she tried her best to suppress the thoughts in her heart, her beautiful cheeks couldn't help but turn red all the way to her neck, making her incomparably beautiful. He's not a child anymore, he's already so big. She couldn't help but have this thought, which made her feel even more embarrassed. Phew. Tang Zheng finally let out a sigh of relief as he finished peeing. He unconsciously looked at her and found that her cheeks were pink and her eyes were watery. Moreover, because she was slightly bent over, her chest was so full that it seemed like it was about to burst out. Tang Zheng's head moved. He actually felt something, and his little brother immediately reacted. Mu Hongyan's hand clearly felt this change. Of course, she understood what was going on, but she pretended not to know. She resisted her embarrassment and stuffed the thing back into her pants. The two of them let out a sigh of relief at the same time. If this continued, Tang Zheng didn't know what kind of ugly state he would reveal. Mu Hongyang carried the chamber pot and walked out. Looking at her graceful figure, Tang Zheng regretted it. If he knew it would be this awkward, he wouldn't have lived with her. No, I have to leave this damned place as soon as possible. Do I really have to admit my identity as a cultivator? Tang Zheng was hesitant. After a while, Mu Hongyang walked back. Her face had already returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. She sat on the bed and said, "Tang Zheng, how can your injury be cured? I'll first try to see if it's effective. Next, I need you to continue to silently observe this group of people. See if there's anything special about them other than their strength." Tang Zheng warned, in addition, find a way to figure out what kind of tribe they are. They actually live in seclusion in the 100,000 mountains. I always feel that it's not simple. They must have a lot of secrets. Only by collecting as much information as possible would Tang Zheng be able to judge the other party's intentions. Do you think they're cultivators? Mu Hongyang asked curiously. Cultivators? Tang Zheng denied this point. None of them have any innate chi fluctuations, so it's impossible for them to be cultivators. However, this tribe is simply too mysterious. They are not cultivators, nor are they martial artists, yet they have such great strength. It's simply inconceivable. I understand. I will try my best to collect as much information as possible. As night fell, the two of them ate the dinner that Yuan brought over. The night became especially quiet, and there were no other entertainment activities in the mountains. Every household returned to their rooms to rest. Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyang, on the other hand, faced an awkward situation. There was only one bed in this room, and if the two of them wanted to rest, they could only sleep on the same bed. You sleep on the other side. Don't worry, I can't move at all. I won't do anything bad. Tang Zheng tried his best to speak in a calm tone. Mu Hongyang smiled. I believe you. Under the illumination of the candlelight, she gave off a hazy sense of seductive beauty. Tang Zheng hurriedly closed his eyes, not looking at this beauty. A single man and a single woman, sharing a bed and sleeping with their clothes on. To be able to sleep on the same bed as Mu Hongyang was something that countless men dreamed of, but it was Tang Zheng who beat them to it. However, he couldn't do anything about it. However, smelling the fragrance emitted from her body, he still couldn't help but feel a surge of emotions. He forced himself to abandon all distracting thoughts and only fell asleep in the middle of the night. Mu Hongyang fell asleep in a daze. In her dream, she actually dreamed of the embarrassing scene during the day. In her dream, she still saw Tang Zheng's thing grow bigger and harder. She couldn't help but panic. Suddenly, a painful groan woke her up. She opened her eyes in a daze and found that Tang Zheng was sweating profusely, his mouth continuously letting out painful cries. "Tang Zheng, what's wrong with you?" She was shocked. It hurts, my whole body hurts." Tang Zheng's whole body trembled as if he was sleep-talking. Mu Hongyan's heart moved. She remembered that he said during the day that she didn't know how many bones in his body were broken. At that time, she saw that he said it so easily, so she didn't take it to heart. Only now did she understand how terrifying this pain was. It was just that during the day, he had been suppressing this pain. Today, he fell asleep and showed this pain. Her heart felt like it was being ruthlessly stabbed by a knife. Her eyes turned red and tears fell. She called out a few more times, but Tang Zheng still didn't wake up. "Tang Zheng, I'm sorry. Why are you so good to me? In the past few years, there have been too many people with ulterior motives towards me. No one has been so good to me. You don't even care about your own life and have to suffer so much pain. How can I repay you in the future?" She choked and found that she couldn't continue speaking. She only felt that her heart was wrapped in a warm feeling. She reached out her hand and tightly hugged Tang Zheng. She let him lie in her embrace with his head resting on her full chest. In the past few years, she had never had such intimate contact with a man. She had a natural repulsion towards other people. But at this moment, she didn't feel repulsion. She only felt heartache as she tightly hugged him. She wished that she could rub him into her body and bear this pain for him. Tang Zheng laid in her embrace and gradually calmed down. However, the pain between his brows was still strong. The two of them maintained this position and gradually fell asleep. At dawn, Tang Zheng opened his eyes and found that his head was resting on something soft. It was more comfortable than any of the pillows he had slept on before. Moreover, a fragrance entered his nose. He turned his eyes and immediately saw where he was. He was actually lying in Mu Hongyan's embrace. The thing behind his head was her chest. No wonder it was so comfortable. How did he run into her embrace last night? He couldn't move. Could it be that she took the initiative to hug him? He felt that he was being too whimsical. The key point was that this position was really ambiguous, causing his mind to ripple. It was also early in the morning, and all the functions of his body were in a state of excitement. He couldn't help but have a reaction. His little brother was already a pillar that could support the sky. "You're awake." At this moment, Mu Hongyan's voice sounded. Tang Zheng was lying in her embrace, so he couldn't see her expression at all. He didn't know if she saw his ugly state. He said awkwardly, "I just woke up." "Then get up. They should be bringing breakfast." Mu Hongyang hugged his body and moved to the bed. Tang Zheng finally saw her face clearly. Her face was slightly red and her eyes were red and swollen. It seemed that she had cried last night. Suddenly, her eyes swept over Tang Zheng's lower body, and the embarrassment in her eyes became even stronger. Tang Zheng immediately caught this gaze. He was both embarrassed and anxious that she had finally discovered his ugly state. At this time, he could only be thick-skinned and pretend that he didn't see it. Fortunately, at this time, Yuan brought breakfast to break the awkwardness. After breakfast, Tang Zheng lay on the bed alone. Mu Hongyang went out of the house and gathered as much information as possible. 2 days passed like this. Every morning when Tang Zheng woke up, he would find himself lying in her embrace. He finally got used to this luck, but the pain in his body was getting more and more intense. Every night, the time he cried out in pain was getting longer and longer. Even when he was awake during the day, he couldn't bear the bone-deep pain. His entire body was trembling non-stop. Mu Hongyang finally had a breakthrough in the past 2 days. She found out that this tribe was called the Witch Tribe, a tribe that neither of them had ever heard of. Seeing that Tang Zheng's pain was getting more and more intense, Mu Hongyang advised, "Tang Zheng, your injuries must be treated, otherwise the consequences will be unimaginable. How could Tang Zheng not understand this logic? But the current information still did not allow him to make the most correct judgment. However, if he did not treat it, he would really be crippled for life. In fact, for the past 2 days, he had been silently circulating the ancient clear heaven scroll, hoping to treat his injuries. However, his meridians were severely damaged, and his true qi did not recover so quickly. Everything was in vain. He gritted his teeth. Since he was going to die anyway, he had to go all out. Go and call a Yuan over. Mu Hongyang nervously left. A moment later, a burst of hurried footsteps approached from afar. Not only our Yuan, even the elders had come. Chapter 220. Although the elder's expression was calm, there was still a trace of excitement in the depths of his eyes. Tang Zheng's face was slightly distorted from the pain, and he said, "Don't you want to know the answer?" "I'll tell you. Please speak." The elder's excitement was finally revealed. Our Yuan also stared at Tang Zheng with wide eyes, as if he wanted to distinguish the truth of what he said. Mu Hongyang clenched her hands tightly together. The next sentence was related to the survival of the two of them. Tang Zheng's forehead was also covered in sweat. He did not know if it was because of nervousness or pain. He took a deep breath and said, "I am a cultivator." Plop. A muffled sound startled everyone. Tang Zheng's heart also jumped, but the scene in front of him left him dumbstruck. What was going on? Mu Hongyang was flabbergasted. The elder actually knelt in front of Tang Zheng and looked at Tang Zheng eagerly. 2 lines of old tears fell from the corners of his eyes. Our Yuan turned pale with fright. "Elder, what are you doing? Get up quickly, how can you kneel to him?" However, the elder was unmoved. His fervent eyes seemed to be able to burn people as he stared straight at Tang Zheng. "Lord Envoy, our witch clan has finally waited for you. Not equal to XO. After saying that, tears streamed down his face. He prostrated himself on the ground in front of Tang Zheng. Everyone was stunned. Witch clan's envoy, what was this thing? Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyang looked at each other. Even though the two of them had imagined countless possibilities, they definitely did not think of this. This was completely beyond their imagination. Witch clan's envoy, how could he be the Lord Envoy? Our Yuan found it hard to believe. It was difficult for him to connect the immobile guy on the bed with the legendary Lord Envoy. Our Yuan had heard many rumors about the Witch clan's envoy since he was young. He was a godlike existence, the most powerful person in the world, so powerful that no one could look up to him. Furthermore, it was said that the Lord Envoy would lead the Witch clan out of their predicament and restore their former glory. Our Yuan yearned for the glory of the Witch clan in the past. From the few words that had been passed down, he could understand that the Witch clan was a powerful clan. They were born with divine strength that could support the heavens. However, for some reason, the shaman tribe had been exiled to the 100,000 mountains. In such a harsh environment, the shaman tribe had used the blood and lives of countless generations of shamans in exchange for the safety of the monks' residence. In addition, the shaman tribe was restricted by the 100,000 mountains. There was a restriction that prevented the shaman tribe from leaving the vast mountains. Even if the outside world changed rapidly, the shaman tribe could only hide in the mountains. It turned out that it wasn't that they didn't want to go out, but that they couldn't. The witch tribe's emissary was the hero who broke the prohibition and saved them from the abyss of suffering. When a Yuan was young, there were records of magic treasures in his records. At that time, I did not dare to confirm that the magic treasure belonged to Lord Envoy, nor was I clear about Lord Envoy's identity as a cultivator. Later on, when I examined Daren's injuries, I discovered that Daren actually has 9 main meridians. This discovery made me both surprised and delighted. The legendary Lord Envoy had finally appeared. However, this matter is of great importance, so I did not make it public. Even after Lord Envoy woke up, I did not immediately explain this point because I did not dare to determine Lord Envoy's identity as a cultivator. Legend has it that only cultivators with 9 main meridians are the true Lord Envoy. Actually, last time, when Lord admitted that the magic treasure was your sword, I already knew that Lord Envoy was definitely a cultivator. However, to be on the safe side, I still had to get Lord Envoy's personal acknowledgement. Now, I have finally waited for this day. The heavens have eyes and bless my witch tribe. As he spoke, he almost knelt down again. Tang Zheng hurriedly stopped him, only then did he stop. You said that I am the witch tribe's emissary. What can I do to make you think so highly of me? Tang Zheng asked. I will not speculate on Lord Envoy's ability, but legend has it that Lord Envoy's divine technique has the power to destroy the heavens and the earth. Divine technique, could it be the ancient clear heaven scroll? Tang Zheng was puzzled, but he had obtained the ancient clear heaven scroll by chance. Our witch tribe has been trapped here for generations. Only Lord Envoy can bring us out of here. The elder looked at Tang Zheng expectantly. Chapter 221. Tang Zheng was baffled, and asked, Since you can save me here, then you can naturally walk out of this 10,000 huge mountains, why do you still need me to save you? The elder's expression dimmed. Lord Envoy, you may not know this, but our witch tribe has been restricted by restrictions for generations. As long as you are a member of the witch tribe, you will not be able to leave this 10,000 mountains. Only if you break this restriction will we be able to leave. Look at the latest chapter. Hey! Tang Zheng curiously opened his eyes wide. There was actually such a strange thing, he asked doubtfully. What ability do I have to break the restriction? Tang Zheng was only at the 9th grade of qi refining, but this restriction was able to imprison the witch clan for generations, which meant that it had been going on for many years and was not an ordinary level of strength. Tang Zheng guessed that it might be a restriction that prevented them from being discovered by outsiders and even escaped the surveillance of the satellites in the sky. Since the restriction was so powerful, Tang Zheng was not arrogant enough to listen to the elder's words and feel that he was omnipotent and had really become a god. The elder said excitedly, Legend has it that as long as Lord Envoy enters the sacred ground, he will know the method to break the restriction. Sacred ground? Yes, the sacred ground is the most important place in our witch clan. The witch clan is not allowed to enter, and only the Lord Envoy can enter. It is said that all the secrets to breaking the restriction are in the sacred ground. The elder explained. Tang Zheng laughed bitterly. Then look at me now, how can I enter the sacred ground? The elder comforted him. Lord Envoy, there is no need to worry. This little bit of pain will naturally not be able to defeat you. My witch clan has the black jade bone ointment, it can heal your injuries. Tang Zheng was wild with joy, and said, All right, heal me first, we can talk about other things. Tang Zheng could not stand this crippled state, and could not wait to recover to his lively state. The elder said respectfully, Yes, I will follow the orders of the Lord Envoy. Then, he walked out, and Mu Hongyang and Ah Yuan walked in again. Ah Yuan looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated expression, while Mu Hongyang was even more nervous, and quietly asked, What's going on? Tang Zheng laughed bitterly. I don't know either, you heard it too, they believe that I am their Lord Envoy, I can bring them out of this place. Mu Hongyang really wanted to ask the elder what Tang Zheng's characteristics were, but she swallowed her words back down. There was no doubt that Tang Zheng's body was full of secrets. Even though the two of them were in the same boat, it was not convenient for her to ask about Tang Zheng's secrets. Then we're fine now? Mu Hongyang asked nervously. Mu Hongyang was overjoyed. As long as your injuries are healed, we will have a chance to leave this place. The two of them had long since grown wings in their hearts, and they wished that they could immediately fly back. Lord Envoy, the black jade bone ointment has been brought over. As long as you apply the ointment to your entire body, your injuries will be healed in a day. The elder walked in with a black jar. I can recover in a day. Tang Zheng found it hard to believe that such a heavy injury could be healed so quickly. It was truly a miraculous elixir. The elder said confidently, Of course, this is a secret ointment made by my witch clan. Its effects are absolutely guaranteed. Then quickly apply it on me. Tang Zheng said impatiently. The elder placed the jar beside the bed and said, Then I ask Lord Envoy's friend to apply the ointment for Lord Envoy. However, you must take off all of Lord Envoy's clothes and apply the black jade bone ointment on your skin. You must apply it to every inch of your skin. With that, the elder brought a Yuan out of the room, leaving Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyang looking at each other in dismay. F*ck, How could he just leave like that? Aren't you going to help me apply the ointment? He couldn't help but look at Mu Hongyang awkwardly. Could it be that he wanted her to apply the medicine? Then wouldn't he be stripped naked in front of her? Although Mu Hongyang had been serving him for the past few days and had seen everything that she should and shouldn't have seen, the two of them still felt awkward and ill at ease when they saw Tang Jing naked in front of her. Mu Hongyang took a deep breath. This extremely important matter had fallen on her shoulders, so she could not shirk it. Moreover, to be able to heal Tang Zheng, this bit of embarrassment was nothing. Although her face was still flushed red, she took a deep breath and pretended to be calm as she said, "Tang Zheng, then I'll take off your clothes now. If it hurts you, you have to endure it a little more." Tang Zheng sighed inwardly. Since Mu Hongyang was not shy, then he, as a man, could not be pretentious. Thus, he said, "Thank you very much." Mu Hongyang tried her best to suppress the charming thoughts in her heart as she took off Tang Zheng's clothes one by one. Naturally, she had to be in close contact with every part of his body. Fortunately, Tang Zheng had already adapted to it in the past few days and his body was not that sensitive. Otherwise, some of the natural reactions of his body would definitely make the two of them extremely awkward. Not long after, Tang Zheng became naked. His wheat-colored skin and robust figure all revealed his masculine charm, especially his 8-pack abs and hard chest, making him not lose out to those professional models. What an alluring figure. Mu Hongyan's heart skipped a beat. Her heart couldn't help but beat faster, and her cheeks became even redder. With great difficulty, she suppressed the wild thoughts in her heart. Mu Hongyang opened the jar, and inside was a black ointment. A fishy smell assailed her nostrils, causing her to subconsciously cover her mouth and nose. "Why does this ointment smell so bad?" Tang Zheng muttered. "Good medicine tastes bitter. Although this ointment tastes strange, I believe it will have a very good effect." Mu Hongyang resisted the nausea and used her hand to grab the black jade bone ointment. The ointment was shiny, and although the smell was bad, its appearance was not bad. It really looked like a black jade. She slowly spread the black jade bone ointment on every inch of Tang Zheng's skin. Her slender jade fingers also caressed every inch of Tang Zheng's skin. This caressing caused Tang Zheng's skin to tremble, and he couldn't help but have a reaction. Any man who was caressed by such a beauty would definitely have a reaction. Tang Zheng was a normal man. Although he tried his best to suppress it, when Mu Hongyang spread the black jade bone ointment on his little brother, it suddenly stood up like an unsheathed sword. Mu Hongyan's hands clearly trembled, and her face was so red that it seemed like water could drip out. Her pair of limpid eyes were full of allure. Her breathing quickened, and her trembling hands continued to apply the ointment. Gradually, beads of sweat appeared on her body. By the time she had spent a lot of effort to turn Tang Zheng into a clay doll, her whole body was already soaked, as if she had collapsed. Tang Zheng's body was only left with a pair of eyes, mouth, and 2 nostrils. The rest of his body was covered by the black jade bone ointment. He opened his big eyes and stared at her tired and shy appearance. He was very grateful. "I'm done. I'll be going out first." Mu Hongyang rushed out of the house as if she was escaping. The elder and our Yuan walked in again. The elder nodded in satisfaction. "Very good, Lord Envoy, you can sleep for a while. One day later, it will be the time for you to be reborn." Tang Zheng glared at them fiercely. These two fellows must have done it on purpose, to let Mu Hongyang apply the medicine on him and embarrass him. However, the other party also had good intentions, so he couldn't criticize the other party. Thus, he closed his eyes and fell into a deep sleep. A day passed very quickly. This time, Tang Jing actually slept for an entire day and night. Furthermore, he did not scream in pain. He slept very peacefully, just like a baby. Mu Hongyang had been sitting by the bed watching over him, so when Tang Jing opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was her. Her face was tired, and she had 2 big dark circles under her eyes. It was obvious that she had not had a good rest today. Seeing that he had woken up, Mu Hongyang was overjoyed and quickly asked, "How do you feel?" Tang Jing felt that his body was no longer in pain, and was even healthier than before. Furthermore, the true qi and true fire in his body had miraculously recovered. The black jade bone ointment was truly a divine medicine. Tang Zheng felt that he had to bring this divine medicine with him when he left this place in the future. I feel very good. My injuries are all healed. Tang Zheng was overjoyed as he tried to move his muscles and bones. Pa pa pa. The black jade bone ointment seemed to crack inch by inch as it fell off Tang Zheng's body, revealing his fair skin. It was completely different from the wheat color from before. In an instant, Tang Zheng was naked again. His skin was like snow, just like a Xiaobai's face. Mu Hongyang was dumbstruck. This effect was too miraculous, throwing away those expensive cosmetics who knew how many streets away. Tang Zheng also raised his hand to take a look. He couldn't believe it and said with a wry smile, "How did I become white?" Mu Hongyang giggled and said, "You are still yellow, but your skin is like a newborn baby. It's white with a hint of red, and it's so delicate that it can be broken by a blow. If other women saw it, they would be so envious of you." Her eyes roamed over his body, and her face turned pink again. He was not dressed yet, so she quickly said awkwardly, "These are the clothes they sent over. I'll go out first. You can change." Tang Zheng also realized the awkwardness. He quickly covered his important parts and stammered, "Okay, you go out first and wait for me." In fact, his body had already been seen completely. There was no need for this kind of superfluous action. Tang Zheng tiptoed out of bed and carefully looked at his skin again. He was afraid that when he went back, Fang Shusha would find it hard to believe. This was simply like a new life. The clothes were not linen like other clothes, but were made of high-quality silk. Even in the outside world, it was considered high-end goods. Moreover, this was an ancient costume. He had never worn an ancient costume before, so it took him a lot of brain cells to wear it neatly. Other than his short hair being a bit out of place, this ancient costume gave him a feeling of being a handsome young master from ancient times. He looked himself up and down and even shamelessly spun around. It felt good. He opened the door and walked out. The sun was shining outside, but Tang Zheng did not put his attention into this beautiful environment. Instead, he was shocked by the dense crowd in the square. Hundreds of people were kneeling in front of him. Chapter 222. Even though Tang Zheng's nerves were thick, he was still deeply shocked by this scene, especially when the shamans looked at him with burning gazes. Tang Zheng felt like he was the leader of an evil sect. There were only two people standing at the scene, Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyang. Mu Hongyang had long been stunned. This scene was like a dream, it was too unreal. In her world, she did not have the habit of kneeling down and kowtowing to others. Furthermore, these people were not forced, but were sincere. She looked at Tang Zheng, not knowing how he could be so capable. What was the identity of the witch tribe's envoy to be able to make them submit so willingly? Tang Zheng was startled for a moment before he regained his senses, but he did not know what to say. The elder knelt at the front and said loudly, "The witch tribe welcomes the arrival of the envoy. The witch tribe welcomes the arrival of the envoy." The earth-shattering shouts caused one's heart to tremble. Tang Zheng felt that he should say something, so he coughed dryly. After holding it in for a long time, he only said one sentence, "Everyone, please rise." No one got up, because the elder said again, "I implore you, Lord Envoy, to save my witch tribe from the sea of bitterness. I implore you, Lord Envoy, to save my witch tribe from the sea of bitterness." The shouts rang out again. Tang Zheng originally did not care much about the identity of this envoy. He wanted to find an opportunity to leave this place after his injuries were healed. He didn't know if it was because the elder had seen through his thoughts and created such a grand scene, leaving him with no way out. Looking at the men, women, elders, and children in the crowd whose eyes were filled with anticipation, Tang Zheng knew that if he agreed this time, he would have to fulfill his promise. However, those pairs of eyes made it impossible for him to refuse. Moreover, his life was saved by the witch tribe, so he should agree to their request. Thus, he said solemnly, "Everyone respects me as the envoy of the witch tribe. I don't understand what kind of virtue or ability I have to shoulder such a heavy responsibility, but I will definitely do my best to let everyone leave this vast 10,000 huge mountains. Thank you, Lord Envoy." Waves of gratitude and cheers rang out. Many people had tears streaming down their faces. This was the wish of countless generations, and now they finally had the chance to realize it. Elder, tell everyone to get up. It's not good to kneel like this. Tang Zheng quickly helped the elder up and said in a low voice. The elder was so excited that his hands trembled and his eyes were brimming with tears. He said, Lord Messenger, you have led the sorcerer tribe out of the sea of suffering. It is our honor to kneel down and worship you. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes. This old fellow was stubborn. He said unhappily, didn't you say that I was the envoy? Then listen to me and tell them to get up. Sure enough, his stern face was effective. The elder hurriedly ordered everyone to stand up, but he still stood in the middle of the square, staring at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng felt that he was about to be melted by these blazing eyes. He pulled the elder and said, Elder, although you have always said that I can lead you out of the 100,000 mountains, I don't have absolute confidence. The elder firmly shook his head. Lord Envoy, there is no need to be modest. Everything will be clear when you go to the Holy Land tomorrow. Tang Zheng had no choice but to do so. That night, a bonfire was lit in the huge square. All the clansmen gathered together to celebrate the arrival of the envoy. Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyang were naturally honored guests. They sat at the top while the elders accompanied them by the side. Mu Hongyang looked at the crowd celebrating around the bonfire in the square. She, who was used to seeing big scenes, was deeply shocked by this kind of worship and joy that came from the bottom of her heart. From time to time, she would turn her head to look at Tang Zheng. Under the light of the fire, his cheeks were well defined, and there was an additional trace of mysterious aura. People couldn't help but want to see what was going on. Mu Hongyang had seen countless successful men, but compared to the current Tang Zheng, they were all lacking in flavor. Even those who were worth billions could not be compared to him. He was like a huge black hole, enough to attract people's attention and hearts. Tang Zheng looked at the bonfire, and his gaze was involuntarily attracted by the 4 stone statues around the square. Under the illumination of the fire, these stone statues became even more mysterious. Elder, I heard that these stone statues are the protectors of the witch clan, but they are just stone statues. How can they protect the witch clan? Tang Zheng asked curiously. The elder retracted his gaze and said respectfully, the legend of the guardian god has been passed down from generation to generation. I do not know too much about the guardian god. Tang Zheng felt that it was a pity that even the elders did not know about the guardian god, so he could not ask any more questions. He changed the question. The people of the witch clan are all very strong, why is that? The elder's face revealed a proud expression as he said, my witch clan is born with divine strength, but right now, we are only limited to our strength. Only when the restrictions are removed can my witch clan cultivate. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. The people of the witch clan were born with divine strength. If they were able to cultivate, their strength would definitely be much stronger than ordinary people. Sir, the witch clan is your most loyal warrior. In the future, we will follow you to fight in the north and south, creating a glory that belongs to you and the witch clan. Tang Zheng shook his head. You have been trapped here for too long. The outside world is already completely different. I am just an ordinary person outside. There is no way I can talk about fighting in the south and north. No, Lord Envoy is destined to achieve a heaven-shaking feat in the future, and my witch clan will be Lord's most loyal warriors, sweeping away all obstacles for Lord. The elder said firmly. Mu Hongyang could not help but be alarmed. This elder's tone was too big. Of course, she was even more interested in Tang Zheng's decision. She did not know what he planned to do in the future with such a powerful force. Roar. Suddenly, a tiger's roar sounded out, and a cage appeared in the plaza. Inside the cage was a ferocious tiger that was baring its fangs. It walked back and forth in the cage, roaring at the people outside, as if it wanted nothing more than to tear open everyone's throats. Mu Hongyang was shocked by the tiger's roar. He looked over and felt the beast nature of the tiger, his heart beating rapidly. This tiger was definitely not a domesticated tiger in the zoo, but a true king of the forest. The elder said with a smile, in order to celebrate the arrival of Lord Envoy, we have prepared a program. As soon as he finished speaking, our Yuan walked to the front of the main guest seat. The elder pointed at our Yuan and said, Lord Envoy, he is a warrior from my clan. His name is Yi Yuan. and we all call him our Yuan. Tonight, he will perform for Lord Envoy." Hearing that, Yi Yuan proudly raised his head and looked at Tang Zheng with provocation in his eyes. Tang Zheng asked curiously, "What program?" "Sir, you'll know when you see it." The elder purposely acted mysterious and nodded towards Yi Yuan. Yi Yuan turned and walked towards the center of the plaza, towards the cage. Everyone's gaze was attracted by him. The crowd cheered and many people shouted, "Our Yuan! Yi Yuan, do your best." Yi Yuan walked in front of the cage and opened the door. Whiz! The tiger pounced towards Yi Yuan. The aura of a king that looked down on the world made one's heart palpitate. Yi Yuan stood in front of the cage, as if his neck was about to be bitten off by the tiger. Please recommend. Chapter 223. The elder stood up angrily and reprimanded loudly, "Our Yuan, what are you doing? Why aren't you leaving yet?" Yi Yuan remained unmoved. He stared straight at Tang Zheng and said, "Everyone says that Lord Envoy's divine abilities are unparalleled, so I want to ask Lord Envoy for advice." "Nonsense, how can you challenge Lord Envoy?" the elder said. Yi Yuan turned a deaf ear to him and continued to stare at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng secretly sighed. Although he was now the Witch Clan's envoy in name, there were probably a lot of people like Yi Yuan who were unconvinced in their hearts. Since he was determined to subdue this power, then of course he had to show his strength. Tang Zheng stood up and said, "I accept your challenge." The elder said, "Lord Envoy, our Yuan is too young, he is not sensible." Tang Zheng waved his hand, indicating for him to stop, and said, "Since he wants to challenge me, of course I will accept. However, you have just experienced a great battle, shouldn't you rest first?" "No need, this little battle is nothing at all." Yi Yuan vowed. Tang Zheng laughed, walked to the center of the plaza, and faced Yi Yuan. "As long as you defeat me, I will willingly submit to you, be your warrior for life, and charge into battle for you." Yi Yuan was resolute and decisive. "All right, remember your words. Do it." Yi Yuan's movements were very fast, and in the blink of an eye, his huge fist had already arrived in front of Tang Zheng, and the air was suddenly compressed by the several hundred kilograms of power, producing a muffled sound. Tang Zheng did not move at all. He punched out. His movements were not fast, but before Yi Yuan's fist hit his face, he protected his face. Bang! As the two fists collided, the two of them took a few steps back at the same time. Then, they heard Yi Yuan roar, and with a whoosh, he arrived in front of Tang Zheng again. His fist techniques were very simple. They were all straight punches, using the shortest path to attack his opponent. He definitely did not waste any more energy. This was the essence of his fist techniques. Those fancy fist techniques looked good, but their power could not be compared to this most direct fist technique. Yi Yuan's fist techniques were tempered from fighting ferocious beasts time and time again, and were filled with an indomitable killing intent. Tang Zheng also gained inspiration from his opponent's fist techniques. He abandoned all unnecessary movements and used the most direct collision. Thus, in the center of the plaza, the two of them punched each other again and again. Their fists struck flesh, and the air spread out in all directions. The muffled sounds were like war drums, causing everyone's blood to boil. Tang Zheng was extremely satisfied, as he had never tried this kind of pure strength confrontation before. Each of his punches had over 100 kilograms of strength, and he had also truly experienced the power of the Witch Clan's innate divine strength, which was actually on par with him, a 9th-grade Qi refining cultivator. If they could cultivate it, then their strength would be even more. Ah Yuan's face was already flushed red. These repeated collisions caused his blood to boil. He did not expect that his opponent's strength would not lose to his, but he was not afraid. Instead, his blood was boiling, and his fighting spirit was high. He knew that there was no way he could win like this, so he took the opportunity to throw out another punch. Seeing that Tang Zheng's fist was about to meet him, he suddenly changed his move, and actually hugged Tang Zheng's waist. Bang! Tang Zheng's fist landed on his back. His body trembled, but he endured it. He hugged Tang Zheng's waist and exerted force. Whiz! Tang Zheng was like an arrow that had left the bow. Tang Zheng was in midair and had nowhere to borrow strength, nor was he able to stop. He could only hear the whistling of the wind in his ears as his body quickly retreated. Whiz! Another figure rushed out at an extremely fast speed. With a tap of his foot, he soared into the air and punched out with both fists, attacking Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng was in midair, he could only subconsciously punch out, but there was no place to borrow strength, so his strength was obviously not as strong as before. Therefore, with two muffled sounds, Tang Zheng flew backwards even faster, and fiercely smashed into the stone statue at the side of the plaza. Tang Zheng felt that his back was about to fall apart. The impact this time was really not good. This Yi Yuan was really not simple. Seeing that he was about to fall, he grabbed the protrusion of the stone statue and flipped his body to stand in the palm of the stone statue. The stone statue raised one hand, and Tang Zheng just happened to land in its palm, looking down at Yi Yuan from above. Plop! With the sound of knees touching the ground, the shamans all knelt down towards Tang Zheng. The stone statue was their guardian, and they had been taught since they were young not to be disrespectful to the guardian. As a result, no one had ever dared to climb onto the guardian god's body. However, by chance, Tang Zheng stood in the hands of the guardian god. That condescending look added a sense of mystery to his body, causing people to involuntarily feel a sense of reverence, as if he was their guardian god. Tang Zheng seemed to understand their mentality. He jumped down and dived towards Yi Yuan. Yi Yuan, who was kneeling on the ground, suddenly raised his head and soared into the air. Bang! This time, Tang Zheng did not fly out, but punched Yi Yuan in the chest. Yi Yuan's face turned red, he almost could not catch his breath, and quickly threw out a punch as well. However, this punch was caught by Tang Zheng's big hand, and a force of over 100 kilograms was transmitted to Tang Zheng's arm, causing his bones to crackle, as if they were about to break. Tang Zheng endured the pain, his diving momentum did not decrease, and smashed onto the hard ground of the plaza with Yi Yuan. Bang, 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 Tang Zheng's fist was like a storm as it landed on Yi Yuan's body. Yi Yuan wanted to resist, but every punch of Tang Zheng's was faster than him, causing him to be unable to resist. In the end, he could only take a beating. However, his physique was strong. Even though he had taken so many punches, it was not fatal. Bang! With another punch, Yi Yuan spat out a mouthful of blood, and Tang Zheng finally stopped. Tang Zheng stood up and floated backwards. Seeing Yi Yuan stagger to his feet, he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at Tang Zheng with mixed feelings. He had always refused to accept Tang Zheng, but this battle made him realize that he was far from being a match for Tang Zheng. The people of the Witch clan worshipped the strong, and Yi Yuan, who had been roaming around the 10,000 huge mountains since he was young, worshipped the strong even more. Since Tang Zheng had displayed his powerful strength and was also the Lord Envoy, he no longer had any thoughts of resisting. He was sincerely convinced and said with a sonorous voice, "Lord Envoy, from today onwards, I, Yi Yuan, will be your warrior, and I will not change my mind until I die." Tang Zheng patted his shoulder and said, "All right, I believe that in the future, you will become one of my most powerful warriors." "Definitely." Yi Yuan clenched his teeth, full of confidence. The applause was thunderous, and the cheers were earth-shattering. The elder walked over, looked at Yi Yuan with gratification, and said, "Now you know how powerful Lord Envoy is, right? In the future, you cannot offend Lord Envoy anymore." "Yes, Yi Yuan will remember." Mu Hongyang was dumbstruck. Her mind was still recalling the intense battle just now. The feeling of her fists hitting her flesh caused her heart to beat faster. Although the Long family was also a martial arts family, she had never had the chance to see such an intense confrontation with her own eyes. She had placed more of her energy on business. This time, she experienced even more how powerful Tang Zheng was. Tang Zheng was no longer embarrassed to share a bed with Mu Hongyang. The Witch clan had prepared the best room for him to stay in. After daybreak, after breakfast, Tang Zheng welcomed the elders and Yi Yuan. Today, they were going to the sacred grounds to search for a way to break the restrictions. "I'm ready. Let's go." Tang Zheng stood up and said while holding onto the War Soul sword. The elder nodded and said, "The sacred grounds is still a distance away, so today, only our Yuan and I will accompany Lord Envoy." When the few of them went out, they found Mu Hongyang standing at the door next door, staring straight at him, wanting to say something but hesitating. What's the matter? Mu Hongyang took a deep breath, feeling rather nervous. In the past, even when facing anyone, she did not feel this way, but now that she was facing Tang Zheng, she could not help but feel this way. Can I go with you? She gradually became interested in this mysterious witch clan. In fact, a strong woman like her had an adventurous spirit in her bones. This kind of adventurous spirit used to be displayed in the business world, but now that she had come to this vast 10,000 huge mountains, her adventurous spirit had merged with this piece of land. Moreover, she did not want to leave Tang Zheng. Although no one here would hurt her, she had subconsciously developed a kind of attachment to Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng turned his head to look at the elders. At the elders' meeting, he nodded and said, "Sure, we can protect her." Since the elder said so, then Tang Zheng did not have any objections. Then come with us. Mu Hongyang was overjoyed, the corner of her mouth curved up, looking extremely flirtatious. 4 tall horses stood quietly in the square. Among them, the tallest white horse was particularly eye-catching. This horse's hair was pure white, without a trace of impurities. The horse's head was raised high, and it was rebellious. The elder explained, "We will be able to ride faster. We should be able to reach the sacred grounds by noon." "I don't know how to ride a horse." Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyang said at the same time that the people in the city were used to traveling by car, so how could they know how to ride a horse? The elder obviously did not expect this, but he did not mind. Riding a horse is very simple. I believe that Lord Envoy will know it once he sees it. With that said, Yi Yuan skillfully mounted the horse and demonstrated. "This heavenly horse is your mount, sir." The elder pointed at the tall white horse and said, "Heavenly horse?" "Yes, the heavenly horse is one of the most precious mounts in the world. Our witch clan raised a few in the past, but until now, there is only this one. Only the heavenly horse is worthy of your esteemed status, sir." The elder said, "This heavenly horse is still in its infancy and can only travel 1,000 miles a day. When it reaches adulthood in the future, it will be able to travel freely and fight together with you, sir." Tang Zheng saw that the heavenly horse was definitely a peerless horse. Thus, with a tap of his foot, he soared into the air and sat on the back of the heavenly horse. Hiss! The heavenly horse hissed, its front hooves soared into the air, its body almost standing up straight. Tang Zheng quickly grabbed onto the reins, his legs tightly clamping onto the horse's abdomen, preventing himself from falling. The heavenly horse obviously did not like being ridden. It spread out its 4 hooves and jumped up, wanting to throw Tang Zheng off. Tang Zheng's competitive spirit was also aroused. He thought to himself that if he could not even tame a beast, wouldn't that make people laugh their heads off? Thus, he clamped his legs tightly and hugged the horse's head with both hands, preventing it from moving. The huge force caused the heavenly horse to feel pain, and it kept screaming, but its cries became weaker and weaker, until it finally quieted down. Only then did Tang Zheng release his hands and legs. "Congratulations, sir, for subduing the heavenly horse," the elder said. Mu Hongyang was also incomparably excited. Although she did not know how to ride a horse, she was still a rich person after all. She had seen many people who raised horses and loved them, and those horses could not be compared to the heavenly horse at all. The elder also jumped onto his own seat. Only Mu Hongyang did not dare to get on the horse. She did not have Tang Zheng's skills, so it would not be good if she fell down with a bloody nose and a swollen face. Tang Zheng saw through her thoughts and extended his hand. "If you don't mind, then sit with me." Mu Hongyang was secretly delighted. He reached out and grabbed Tang Zheng's hand, then felt himself flying up and landing steadily on the horse's back. She was in front, Tang Zheng was behind, and Tang Zheng was holding onto the reins with both hands, protecting her in his embrace. Chapter 224. Tang Zheng had never thought that he would have such an experience. The heavenly horse moved as if it was flying, its 4 hooves soared into the air, as if it was riding on the clouds, but every time it landed on the ground, it was very stable. Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyang did not feel any bumps at all. Book group, this is even more comfortable than a car. Mu Hongyang leaned into his embrace. Previously, she was a little embarrassed, but as she gradually became more familiar with him, the awkwardness disappeared. This is the real convertible sports car. Tang Zheng joked. Mu Hongyang covered her mouth and chuckled, but her eyes were exceptionally bright. The feeling that she had never experienced before made her feel extremely novel. Every pore in her body opened up, and every cell became active. Whoosh! Suddenly, Tang Zheng, who was running at the front, pulled on the reins, and the horse immediately stopped. The elder also pulled on the horse's head, and the horse's body was raised high. The heavenly horse did not even need Tang Zheng to pull on the reins and stopped by itself. It was extremely stable. There's miasma up ahead, Yi Yuan said in a deep voice. He was not nervous at all. Living in the 10,000 huge mountains, the miasma followed them like a shadow. It would not cause them to be afraid at all. The elder handed over a porcelain bottle to Tang Zheng and said, Lord Envoy, after consuming a detoxification pill, you will not be afraid of this miasma. Tang Zheng poured out one pill each with Mu Hongyang. This small pill was able to dissolve the poison of the miasma, causing Mu Hongyang to find it hard to believe. She had lived in southern Yunnan for more than 20 years and had been influenced since she was young. However, she had never heard of a medicine that could completely dissolve the poison of the miasma. However, when he thought of the miraculous black jade bone ointment from before, this detoxification pill did not seem to be difficult to accept. The two of them consumed it, and their bodies did not feel any discomfort. The elder and Yi Yuan also consumed it, and the elder explained, back then, when our clansmen were just imprisoned here, many of our clansmen died under this miasma. Later on, an ancestor developed this detoxification pill, and only then could we ensure that our clansmen were not poisoned by the miasma. That ancestor must be a genius doctor, Mu Hongyang said. The elder revealed a smile. Of course, this ancestor is very kind and has saved many of our people. The elder and Yi Yuan gave their respective mounts another detoxification pill. Tang Zheng followed suit and stuffed one into the heaven horse's mouth. Unexpectedly, the beast smelled it, snorted, and turned its head away. It actually did not eat it, as if it was disgusted. The elder said, Lord Envoy, the heavenly horse has a special physique and is not afraid of this miasma. Tang Zheng's eyes lit up, and he said, it's immune to all poisons. The elder said, although we can't say that it is immune to all poisons, the miasma's poison is indeed no threat to it. Tang Zheng had no choice but to size it up again. This beast actually raised its head high and glanced at Tang Zheng, as if to say, you country bumpkin, you actually don't know my ability. Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. He was actually looked down upon by a horse. If word got out, others would think that he was crazy, but that gaze just now was clearly filled with undisguised contempt. Forget it, I won't lower myself to the level of a horse. Tang Zheng pretended not to see it. Jio. The three horses continued to gallop, their surroundings filled with a white mist. This was the miasma. It looked like a white mist, but in reality, it contained a highly toxic poison, and if one inhaled too much, it would be fatal. But at this moment, the few of them were safe and sound within the miasma. It was truly miraculous. Above their heads were towering trees that covered the sky and the sun. Only sporadic rays of sunlight shone through the gaps. Only the sound of horse hooves stepping on the ground could be heard in the forest. After advancing for a long time, the miasma disappeared. The few of them stopped again, because in front of them was a large swamp that ate people without spitting out bones. The swamp is even more troublesome than the miasma. The elder frowned and said in disgust, no matter if it is a human or a beast, as long as they fall into the swamp, most of them will not survive. Back then, Lord Envoy was able to hold on because he had a magic treasure protecting him. Tang Zheng understood, but Mu Hongyang could not help but look at the war soul sword on his waist. This unassuming black sword was actually a magic treasure. Then how do we get there? Tang Zheng asked. Master, please be patient. Of course we have a way. The elder gestured to Yi Yuan, who immediately came to the edge of the swamp and jumped towards a pile of weeds. Mu Hongyang opened his eyes wide in shock. That was a swamp. If he jumped down, he would not be able to survive. However, Tang Zheng was not worried at all. Sure enough, Yi Yuan jumped into the weeds and did not sink. A long bamboo pole appeared in his hand, and with a push, a huge wooden raft slid over. We'll use this to cross this swamp. The elder skillfully led his mount onto the wooden raft. The wooden raft was big enough to accommodate 3 horses and 4 people. As the few of them boarded the raft, Mu Hongyang was obviously a little afraid. He stood closely beside Tang Zheng, as if he was afraid that he would fall. Tang Zheng comforted her. Don't be afraid. Mu Hongyang forced out a smile, but his face was a little pale. It was obvious that he was still afraid, but he did not dare to openly grab onto Tang Zheng, so he could only try his best to get close to him. There was a stench in the swamp, and there were also the corpses of wild beasts that had not completely rotted. It was a little creepy. Tang Zheng, the elder, and Tang Zheng's expressions remained the same. Only Mu Hongyang covered his mouth as he got closer and closer to Tang Zheng. In the end, he simply leaned his entire body on him. She had been sitting in the office all year round, so when had she ever been in such a harsh environment? Naturally, fear would arise in her heart. Seeing her trembling and her face becoming paler and paler, Tang Zheng bitterly smiled to himself. Why did you have to suffer with me? But this is not the way to go. What if something bad really happens to you? Thus, he took the opportunity to wrap his arms around her shoulders. Mu Hongyan's body tensed up, and then she leaned into his embrace. A strong sense of security filled her heart, dispelling the fear in her heart. She raised her eyes and glanced at him, only to discover that he was looking straight ahead, his eyes deep and steady, completely lacking the frivolity of his age. Seeing that he had retracted his gaze, she hurriedly lowered her head, afraid to look him in the eye, but she did not have the courage to leave his embrace. The elder and Yi Yuan pretended not to see anything. Yi Yuan focused on supporting the raft, while the elder focused on a mountain peak that protruded out from the distance. The mountain was not very tall, but it was fiery red. The leaves were like burning flames, and even the tree trunks were fiery red. Moreover, all the different types of trees had the same color, fiery red, a bewitching red. Tang Zheng also saw the mountain peak that looked like flames, and asked curiously, could that be the sacred ground? The elder retracted his gaze and nodded, yes, the sacred ground is like a flame that can burn away all the sins in the world. Why are they all fiery red? The elder shook his head. This is the magical part of the sacred ground. Ever since I was born, the sacred ground has been this color, and it has never changed throughout the year. Tang Zheng was extremely curious. The color of the leaves should have changed with the change of the seasons, but the trees in the sacred ground did not change at all. It was truly magical. However, since it was the witch clan's sacred ground, there would naturally be many magical things about it. The raft finally stopped, and the few of them arrived at the edge of the swamp. They got off the raft and rode their horses forward. Although the sacred ground was right in front of them, it still took them nearly an hour to arrive at the edge of the sacred ground, at the foot of the fiery red mountain peak. Mu Hongyang was completely shocked by the mountain peak. He was flabbergasted as he stared blankly at the mountain peak. Even Tang Zheng could not hide his surprise. This mountain was about 1,000 meters tall. Not only were the trees fiery red, even the weeds on the ground, the soil, and the stones were red. This is too magical. Mu Hongyang could be considered to be well informed. He had been to many places in the world for tourism, but he had never seen such a magical scene. Lord Envoy, let's eat some dry food first. Only after eating will we have the strength to climb the mountain. This is the sacred ground. We can't ride horses, we can only walk. This is our respect for the sacred ground. The elder said solemnly. After the few of them had lunch, they led their horses up the mountain. The mountain was not steep, and after a while, they finally reached the top of the mountain. It gave them the illusion that they were in flames, and the evil thoughts in their hearts were about to be refined by this fiery red. At the top of the mountain, a huge cave appeared in front of them. A wave of heat was emitted from the cave. Lord Envoy, we can only accompany you up to here. The rest will depend on you alone. This is the core of the sacred ground, and the people of the witch clan have been forbidden from entering for generations. Only you, sir, have the privilege to enter. The elder said solemnly. Tang Zheng asked in confusion, since you've always said that the method to break through the restrictions is in this cave, Why haven't you thought of going in to investigate all these years? The elder hurriedly shook his head like a rattle drum and said firmly, the witch clan will not violate the rules set by their ancestors. Moreover, since it is said that only you, sir, can find a way to break through the restrictions, then it is useless for us to enter. Tang Zheng could not help but want to roll his eyes. The witch clan was really stubborn, they had been trapped here for so many years, and it was said that the method to break through the restrictions was inside the cave, but they did not take even half a step out of the lightning pool. Mu Hongyang really wanted to continue following him to investigate, but since the elder said that only Tang Zheng could go down alone, she tactfully did not follow him. She nodded towards Tang Zheng, encouraging him to do his best. Tang Zheng smiled knowingly, and joked, then I'll go in alone, there won't be any man-eating beasts inside, right? The elder said with a blank face, we don't know either. Lord Envoy, the hope of our witch clan is in your hands. Tang Zheng felt the burden on his shoulders instantly become much heavier. He retracted his smile, nodded his head seriously, and walked into the cave with large strides. A blazing wave of air rushed towards his face, and the temperature suddenly rose. The inside of the cave was also fiery red, and the walls of the cave were suffused with a strange red light, illuminating his path forward. He walked with his head held high, and after a while, he had already walked a few hundred meters. He could no longer see the scene outside the cave. The surroundings were completely silent, and there was no movement at all. He suddenly remembered that there was no movement around him when he was climbing the mountain. This mountain was like a dead mountain. Other than plants, there were no animals, not even insects. It was so strange that it made one's heart palpitate. Chapter 225. After walking straight for a distance, the cave slanted downwards, as if there was no end to it. Only the heat wave in his face was getting stronger and stronger. Tang Zheng frowned, his nerves tensed up, the war soul sword in his hand glowed with a black light, forming a sharp contrast with the red light around him. Suddenly, the view in front of them opened up. They arrived at a huge stone hall. There was a huge pool in the middle of the hall, but it wasn't water. Instead, it was boiling red lava. The boiling hot air turned the stone hall into a huge furnace. Tang Zheng immediately channeled his energy to counteract the heat. The pure yang energy in his body was also agitated by the surging heat. Fortunately, the dantian stored the pure yin energy, and traces of the pure yin energy flowed through his meridians, suppressing the restless pure yang energy. Tang Zheng did not dare to be careless. This place was too strange. If it really detonated his pure yang energy, it would be terrible. He walked to the side of the pool, only to discover that there was a huge arc protruding out of the churning lava. Tang Zheng was shocked. He could not tell what material it was, but the lava could not harm it at all. Steel will also melt in this lava. What is this thing that is actually not afraid of such a high temperature? Only half of this protrusion was exposed. It was circular in shape and looked very much like an egg. Yes, it was like an egg, and half of it was exposed outside. This egg was the size of a basketball, and there were actually many complicated patterns on its surface. Tang Zheng's head moved. These patterns were similar to the ones on the plaza. Could it be that this egg was the key to breaking the restriction? However, after studying for a long time, he still found nothing. In the end, he had no choice but to give up and continue searching the stone hall to see if there were any other clues. With just a glance, he found some clues. There were actually many small words carved on the wall. Primal Chaos Vaja spell. Tang Zheng saw the name of this cultivation technique at first glance. This cultivation technique was specially created for the sorcerer tribe to temper their bodies. Moreover, when this cultivation technique was practiced to the extreme, one's body would be as tough as a diamond, and one's body would not be destroyed. Tang Zheng had originally wanted to temper his body, and this cultivation method was very suitable for him. Moreover, there were no cultivation methods in the sorcerer tribe, and most of the methods to temper the body were through medicinal refinement. If he gave this cultivation method to the sorcerer tribe's power would definitely increase greatly. After the cultivation technique, there was a huge mural. It was vivid and lifelike. On the mural, there was a man and an egg. Yes, This egg was the same as the one in the pond. Even the veined patterns on it were exactly the same. There were 9 lines drawn on the man's body. The man covered the egg with his hands, and the egg shone brightly. Then, a ball of white light broke out of the shell. Huh! What's the meaning of this? What is this white light? Tang Zheng stared straight at the egg, then looked at the picture for a while, as if deep in thought. Could it be that I have to follow the method of the person in the picture? There are 9 lines in this person's body. Could it be that they symbolize the 9 main meridians? Tang Zheng could not think of a better way, and the elder had solemnly said that only he could break the restriction, so he could only give it a try. However, the egg was in the middle of the pool, and even if he wanted to follow the instructions on the mural, he could not reach it. What should he do? Suddenly, his gaze fell on the War Soul Sword. With a thought, he hurriedly channeled his energy to protect the War Soul Sword. Then, he slowly inserted the War Soul Sword into the magma. Gulp! Fiery red bubbles appeared around the War Soul Sword. The War Soul Sword immediately glowed with a black light, but it was not damaged at all. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. The War Soul Sword had a large amount of yin qi, so it was obvious that it could withstand the rolling magma. Tang Zheng pointed his foot, holding the sword with one hand. He soared into the air and rushed towards the egg. Seeing that he was about to fall into the magma, he suddenly made his move. The War Soul Sword pointed at the magma, and with the help of the rebound force, his body soared into the air and finally arrived above the egg. He hurriedly inserted the War Soul Sword into his waist and landed upside down. His hands covered the egg, as this was the only way to achieve the appearance shown in the mural. The moment his hand touched the egg, a red light shone, and the mysterious patterns on the egg also glowed. A huge suction force drilled out from the egg, and the innate qi in his body surged and was sucked into the egg. Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. He wanted to withdraw his hand, but it was too late. The suction force was too terrifying, and it was not something he could resist. Holy shit! What's going on? This egg seems to have some sort of star-sucking ability. It can actually absorb my Zhen qi. Tang Zheng had never heard of such a situation before. His expression changed greatly. Was he going to be sucked dry? Hiss hiss! Suddenly, a surge of blazing energy flowed from the egg into his body. His entire body felt like it was boiling. The pure yang energy had finally been activated. Ah! He let out a blood-curdling scream as his entire body felt like it was on fire. The agitated pure yang energy seemed to want to break through his meridians. At this time, the accumulated pure yin energy began to move. Tang Zheng hurriedly circulated his energy, and the pure yin energy and the pure yang energy were neutralized. Only then did his pain slightly subside. He was sweating profusely as he stared at the egg. He discovered that the patterns on the egg were spinning rapidly, and the red light was gradually dissipating. Bang! A powerful force came from the egg, and he was sent flying. He flew across the pond and landed on the ground, staggering. Tang Zheng found that his body was empty. His Zhen qi had been sucked dry. Holy shit, this egg is a bottomless pit. Tang Zheng wanted to cry but had no tears. Fortunately, his body did not suffer any major damage. Hey, how did the pure yang energy increase so much? Tang Zheng could clearly feel the surging power of the pure yang energy. This must be the heat from the egg transforming into pure yang energy. Tang Zheng wanted to cry but had no tears. He originally wanted to suppress the pure yang energy. Now that the pure yang energy was increasing, he felt his body temperature increase a little. Moreover, there was not much pure yin energy left in his dantian. He did not have time to sigh at the changes in his body. He stared at the egg from afar. Didn't the mural say that the egg would crack? Then, a white light would rise. But after waiting for a long time, the egg did not have the slightest reaction. What's going on? Did I not absorb enough Zhen qi? Tang Zheng seemed to be deep in thought, but I don't have any more Zhen qi in my body, so it's useless to stay here. Why don't I go back and ask the elders first? Returning the way he came, his speed was much slower. After all, there was no more Zhen qi in his body. This was equivalent to him having just experienced a great battle, and his losses were too great. After a long time, he finally reached the entrance of the cave and discovered that the 3 elders were stretching their necks to look into the cave. When they saw Tang Zheng, they all revealed excited expressions. "Elder, I'm sorry, I didn't succeed," Tang Zheng said regretfully. However, the elder did not mind and said excitedly, "Lord Envoy, you are too amazing." Tang Zheng was baffled. He did not even succeed. What was so great about it? As if he could see through his doubts, the elder pointed into the distance and said, "Lord Envoy, look." Looking over, he saw a ray of light shooting into the sky from the direction of the plaza. It rose into the air, and then, there seemed to be a huge glass cover in the air. This ray of light merged with the glass cover. "Hey, what's going on?" Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. The elder explained, "This is to weaken the power of the restriction. Although I do not know what Lord Envoy is doing inside, I am sure that you have triggered this change." This ray of light rose from the plaza because the plaza has a mysterious connection with the Holy Land. In addition, I can already feel that the power of the restriction has been weakened. Yi Yuan was also extremely excited. His gaze towards Tang Zheng was filled with passion. At this moment, he no longer doubted that Tang Zheng could remove the restriction. Mu Hongyan's eyes were also filled with splendor. This series of events had exceeded her imagination, especially that ray of light that soared into the sky. It was like a scene from a myth. And all of this was caused by Tang Zheng. If it was any other woman, they would feel that it was extremely new and exciting. Tang Zheng's heart moved. Could it be that the egg had absorbed his innate qi, and then it could weaken the restriction? This was too magical. "Lord Envoy, what's inside?" Yi Yuan could not help but ask curiously. The other 2 also looked at Tang Zheng curiously. The elder said, "If it's not convenient to say, Lord Envoy, you don't have to say it." Tang Zheng shook his head. He originally wanted to ask the other party, so he told them what he had seen and heard, causing the shock on their faces to become even more intense. "Chaotic Vajra spell. You're saying that there's a chaotic Vajra spell inside?" The elder was so excited that his hands were trembling. "This is the supreme cultivation technique of my witch clan. It has been lost for who knows how many years. I never thought that it would actually be kept in the sacred ground. I'll write down the cultivation technique for you when I get back." When Tang Zheng heard that this was actually the witch clan's supreme technique, he could not help but feel a rush of excitement. However, although this technique was mystical, if they did not break the restrictions, they would not be able to cultivate it. Back then, the ancestors of the witch clan might have considered this and simply hid the primal chaos Vajra spell in the sacred grounds. "Thank you, Lord Envoy. You are truly the savior of my witch clan." The elder was so excited that he wanted to kneel down again. Tang Zheng hurriedly supported him. This old man's etiquette was a bit too much. "Do you know anything about that egg?" Tang Zheng asked. The elder shook his head. "There have never been any records of this in the witch clan, but since it is recorded in the mural, it must be the key to breaking the restriction. Perhaps your guess is right. Only when it absorbs enough innate qi will it be able to break the egg, and that will be the time when the restriction is completely broken." Tang Zheng let out a long sigh. "But my current cultivation is obviously not enough to do that. We have waited for so many years, so we are not in a hurry. I believe that your power will definitely increase by leaps and bounds, and then you will be able to break the restriction." The elder was full of confidence. The few of them returned the way they came. When they returned to the plaza, the light had already disappeared, and all the clansmen gathered in the plaza were kneeling in the direction of the sacred ground. However, the gazes of Tang Zheng and the others were not attracted by these people. Their gazes landed on the gigantic stone statue, which had undergone a huge change. Chapter 226. The gigantic stone statue was no longer in its original position. Furthermore, the postures of each stone statue were different as well. Sogu, 360, So-So, quick update, no ads, coming soon. The stone statue moved. How could such a gigantic stone statue move? When the witch clansmen saw that they had returned, they all started to talk at once. It turned out that when the ray of light shot into the sky, the 4 stone statues seemed to have come to life and started to move, changing into their current positions and postures. Tang Zheng was dumbstruck. He had originally thought that the stone statue was a dead object, but now he knew that it could actually move. Stones also have life. Tang Jing felt that his brain could not process what was going on. However, the elder said excitedly, "The guardian god has appeared. This shows that the restriction is about to be broken." When everyone heard this, they were so excited that they could not control themselves. They all looked at Tang Jing eagerly. However, Tang Jing's expression was not as optimistic as theirs. That egg was a bottomless pit. He did not know how much innate qi he would need to fill it up, so he did not have absolute confidence when he would be able to break the restriction. Furthermore, he and Mu Hongyang had fallen off the cliff for so many days, and his family must be very anxious, so he had to hurry back as soon as possible and come back here in the future. Shui. When Tang Jing finished transcribing the chaotic Vajra spell and told the elder about his decision, the elder's expression obviously darkened as he asked nervously, "Sir Envoy, when will you be back after you leave? Since there was still a month or two before the summer vacation, why not take this opportunity to settle the matter of the witch clan?" Although he did not find Mu Hongyan's husband's magic treasure, the matter of the witch clan was still a huge discovery. Furthermore, the spirit energy here was abundant. Wouldn't it be better to bring Shusha here to cultivate? "Elder, you don't have to worry. Wait for me to go back and take care of some personal matters, then we will come back. At that time, we will focus on breaking the restrictions for the witch clan." The elder felt a little regretful, but he did not stop him. He nodded and said, "Then our witch clan will wait for Lord Envoy to return." After a night of silence, both Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyang were a little excited. They woke up at dawn, and the elders and Yi Yuan were waiting outside the door. "Lord Envoy, our Yuan will bring you away." Tang Zheng nodded. Both parties bid each other farewell and left on their horses. Passing through layers of miasma and swamps, the three of them arrived at the edge of the 100,000 mountains when it was dark. Yi Yuan stopped, looked at Tang Zheng and said, "Lord Envoy, our entire clan is waiting for you to return and bring us out of this place. Don't worry, I'll be back as soon as possible." Tang Zheng promised. Both parties waved goodbye. Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyang rode on the heavenly horse and left the vast mountain. Mu Hongyang looked back. This period of time was like a dream, making people feel that it was so unreal. "Tang Zheng, the witch clan is really pitiful. They have been trapped in the mountains for generations. You must help them leave this place," Mu Hongyang said emotionally. Tang Zheng said, "Of course I will bring them out of this place, but this time when we go back, we must not let anyone else know about the existence of the witch clan." Mu Hongyan's heart skipped a beat. The witch clan was too mysterious. If the outside world found out, it would definitely cause a huge uproar and bring disaster to the witch clan. "I understand. The witch clan saved me, so of course I will think for them," Mu Hongyang agreed. The two of them compared their statements again and found a set of excuses. They said that both sides were saved by the dense branches that covered the sky, but they lost their way in the forest and spent so many days to walk out of the vast mountains. Of course, the heavenly horse was the wild horse they found by chance in the mountains. "Who do you think is the one who tried to assassinate us this time? Is the target you or me?" Tang Zheng asked curiously. Mu Hongyang was silent. She had thought about this question many times in the past few days. She had an illustrious identity and had been assassinated before, but this was the first time in Dianan. After all, this was the Long family's headquarters, and no one would dare to make a move against her. Tang Zheng originally suspected that it was the assassins of the martial sect, but those assassins were obviously too weak. They were definitely not from the martial sect, and this was not the style of the martial sect, so he also denied it. No matter how much the two of them guessed, they would never have thought that all of this was arranged by Long Tengyu. Outside the mountain was a large suburb of the city. The night wind blew and the two of them galloped. Mu Hongyang could not help but feel a sense of transmigration. He subconsciously opened his hands and embraced the night wind that blew against his face. At this moment, although it was already late, there were still a few residents in the suburbs. When they saw a man and a woman galloping on their horses, they could not help but wonder if their eyes were playing tricks on them. The sound of horse hooves faded into the distance, leaving behind an unforgettable scene for these people. In the darkness of the night, the heavenly horse could actually distinguish the road. Its 4 hooves flew as it dashed towards the lights of the city in the distance. More than an hour later, they arrived at the edge of the city. The brilliant lights illuminated the road ahead and completely exposed their tracks. The heavenly horse raised its head high and looked at the unfamiliar city. The unfamiliar scene made it faintly excited. It screamed and ran away. Immediately, a shocking scene was born. On the wide road, a tall white horse carried a man and a woman. The man was handsome and the woman was beautiful as they galloped forward. There were many cars on the road. When the owner of the car saw this scene, he could not help but be surprised. Who was it that came out to walk their horses in the middle of the night? Moreover, this horse. It was really handsome and extraordinary. Even an outsider could tell that it was a real good horse. Whiz. The heavenly horse was like a gust of wind as it shuttled through the traffic. It even lowered its head to look at the cars beside it. It seemed to treat these iron shells as opponents as it quickly overtook one car after another. The owner of the car was stunned. Could it be that the horse wanted to race with the car? Some of the owners had already increased the throttle to keep pace with the heavenly horse. The heavenly horse was infuriated by such a provocative action. It raised its front hooves high and almost stood up with the 2 people on its back. Mu Hongyang cried out in alarm and leaned tightly into Tang Zheng's embrace. However, Tang Zheng could sense the intentions of this beast, so it was fine. Since the elder had praised the heavenly horse so much, then he might as well experience its speed today. What was the speed of an arrow leaving the bow? The heavenly horse's speed was the best explanation. It kicked backwards, and the tall horse's body soared into the air. It was as if it was riding on the clouds, and it actually jumped over a moving car. It steadily landed on the ground, scaring the owner so much that he hurriedly braked. The heavenly horse neighed proudly. Its speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it had left a few cars behind and was far ahead. Woo! Suddenly, the roar of an engine rang out. A sports car rushed out and arrived beside the heavenly horse. It was obvious that it wanted to compete with the heavenly horse. Tang Zheng was in high spirits as he patted the back of the heavenly horse and said, "Do you have the confidence to beat him?" The heavenly horse snorted proudly and turned its head to look at the owner of the sports car. The owner of the sports car thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him. He was actually looked down upon by a beast. He fiercely pressed the horn a few times in response, as if he was roaring. Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. He understood the other party's feelings very well. Wasn't he also despised by the heavenly horse back then? This beast was very arrogant. Whiz whiz. The horse and the car began to compete. There were not many cars on the road, and the heavenly horse took advantage of the opportunity to advance forward. It had already soared into the air and flew over many roofs. The sports car was like a ghost, moving at a very fast speed, closely keeping pace with the heavenly horse. This scene caused all the car owners on the road to be dumbstruck. Many people stopped their cars and used their phones to record this scene that was hard to come by in 100 years. Both sides were very fast, and in a short while, they had left the other cars far behind. Suddenly, the heavenly horse turned its head to look at the sports car, as if it also felt that the speed of this iron box was not slow. Its eyes burned with fighting spirit, and it actually increased its speed again, instantly leaving the sports car a few meters behind. Mu Hongyang had sat in many luxury cars, but she had never had such a high-speed experience on the road, let alone sitting on the back of a horse. As the heavenly horse moved forward, she couldn't help but shout out loud. Tang Zheng could clearly feel the trembling of every cell in her body. That unprecedented experience was enough to make anyone feel satisfied. This was like riding a roller coaster. The more exciting it was, the more scared it was, and the more excited it was. Tang Zheng hugged her tightly, not allowing her to be thrown out. Seeing that the sports car had caught up again, Tang Zheng patted the horse's back and said, "Faster, completely shake off this tail." The heavenly horse seemed to understand his words and suddenly sped up. In front of them was the downtown area, and there were many people and cars. When many people saw a tall white horse rushing over, they subconsciously dodged. In fact, there was no need for them to dodge at all. The heavenly horse accurately controlled the landing point and would not hurt anyone. The speed of the sports car obviously slowed down. There was no other way, there were too many cars. No matter how good his driving skills were, no matter how powerful the sports car was, it couldn't fly. So after chasing for a while, he could only watch the back of the white horse disappear from his sight. He unwillingly slapped the steering wheel to vent his frustration of failure. The video of the race between the car and the horse, and the white horse's victory over the sports car, was spread to the internet. Many people were shocked by the white horse's heroic appearance, and even more people participated in the discussion about who exactly the man and woman sitting on the horse were, to actually have such a BMW. Many young girls stared blankly at the back of Tang Zheng. The woman sitting in his embrace was too happy, it was simply like a dream fairy tale. What was Prince Charming? This was Prince Charming. At that moment, Tang Zheng did not know that he had a name on the internet, Prince Charming. He had become the dream lover of many girls, and many girls even asked their boyfriends to ride a tall white horse to propose to them before they were willing to marry him. Tang Zheng did not know that his unintentional actions had actually added so much burden to the male compatriots of the world. Fortunately, the heavenly horse was too fast, and there was only a blurry back view in those videos. It was impossible to see his face clearly, otherwise, he would have become the public enemy of the male compatriots wherever he went. Tang Zheng was not in the mood to pay attention to all of this, because they had already returned to the lakeside villa, but Fang Shusha was not here. It was said that she had been picked up by someone. Chapter 227. The news of Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyan's return immediately reached the Long family. Long Shenyuan immediately asked the two of them to go to the Long family. He wanted to find out what was going on. During this period of time, the real culprit behind the scenes had not been found, and Long Xuanyuan's anger was burning more and more. Although the assassin was a foreign force, he had no place to investigate. However, he aimed the spearhead at the cold-faced killer, Xiao Xiaoling. Xiao Xiaoling killed Wang Fuchuan, and he wanted to know who was the real culprit behind the scenes. Just like Long Tengyu said, the assassination of Mu Hongyang might also be arranged by the real culprit. However, Xiao Xiaoling seemed to have disappeared into thin air. No one knew where he was, but everyone believed that as long as he showed up, he would definitely not be able to escape the eyes of the Long family. The two of them were preparing to go to the Long family when suddenly, Tang Zheng felt a strong uneasiness. Something happened to Shusha. He sensed that the Imperial Spirit Array in the Jade Buddha that he had given to Fang Shusha had been activated. Only when Fang Shusha was in danger would the Imperial Spirit Array be activated. Shusha is in danger, I'll go save her first. Tang Zheng turned over and mounted his horse. Without waiting for Mu Hongyang to react, he urged the horse to gallop. Mu Hongyang was shocked. How could Fang Shusha be in danger? She immediately contacted Long Shenyuan, hoping that the Long family would mobilize their power to find the whereabouts of Fang Shusha. Mu Hongyang and Tang Zheng had experienced this ordeal, and understood even more about Tang Zheng's extraordinariness. Therefore, if Fang Shusha had an accident in Dianan, it would definitely arouse the disgust of Tang Zheng. Although Tang Zheng's current strength was not that heaven-defying, offending him was definitely not a good thing. His potential was limitless, and no one knew how far he could go in the future. Actually, they did not need to track down Fang Shusha's whereabouts, because Tang Zheng had already used the tracking technique to track down her location. This time, Fang Shusha was not facing an ordinary danger. Tang Zheng had already sensed that the Jade Buddha had been destroyed. The Jade Buddha would not be destroyed by ordinary attacks, which meant that the enemy was an expert. Tang Zheng spurred his horse and galloped straight to a luxurious restaurant. When this tall horse entered the restaurant, the waiter was so shocked that he forgot to stop it. He dismounted from his horse and walked towards a private room with a gloomy face. Finally, a waiter came forward to stop him. Tang Zheng did not even look at him as he walked straight towards his destination. The Pegasus snorted and looked down at the dumbfounded diners. Then, it followed Tang Zheng and walked forward. It was extremely arrogant. When it encountered a table, it lifted its hooves and directly kicked it away. This man and horse were both filled with power, exuding an aura that warned others not to get close. "Stop right there." Suddenly, an angry roar sounded. The two burly men at the door blocked Tang Zheng's path. Bang bang! Tang Zheng made his move like lightning. Without giving the other party a chance to react, the burly man flew out and smashed into a nearby table, causing waves of screams. Tang Zheng raised his leg, and the tightly shut door was immediately kicked flying. The scene inside the private room could be seen clearly. Fang Sheshe was leaning against the corner of the wall, and the other person was actually Long Tengyu. He was looking at Fang Sheshe in shock, and shouted, "You are a cultivator." When the two of them heard the commotion at the door, they turned their heads at the same time. When they saw the person at the door clearly, they cried out in alarm at the same time. "Tang Zheng!" Fang Sheshe opened his eyes wide in disbelief, and stared at Tang Zheng in a daze. These days were the most difficult time of her life, but she firmly believed that Tang Zheng would not leave her like this. Therefore, even if everyone else thought that Tang Zheng had no chance of survival, and even Li Xiaotian, who was very interested in Tang Zheng, left without saying goodbye, she still chose to stay in Dianan, hoping that one day he would come back to find her. At this moment, Tang Zheng appeared in front of her alive, which made her both surprised and happy. Her insistence was right, and he really came back safe and sound. The stone hanging in her heart finally fell to the ground. She really wanted to cry out loud, especially when she thought of the grievances she had suffered just now. Previously, Long Tengyu had sent someone to inform her that there was news of Tang Zheng, so she couldn't wait to come here. She didn't expect that this was all a scam, and Long Tengyu had finally revealed his true colors. He actually wanted to take advantage of her. Long Tengyu could be said to be the crown prince of Dianan. The woman he had taken a fancy to had never escaped from his grasp, except for Mu Hongyang. This time, he had specially tricked Fang Sheshe to come here. Firstly, it was to take revenge on Tang Zheng, and secondly, it was because Fang Sheshe was indeed beautiful enough. He didn't even go directly to the hotel. Instead, he had someone bring him to this luxurious restaurant. Long Tengyu was a person who liked sentiment. He had originally planned to take her to the hotel after eating, but he didn't expect Fang Sheshe to be so smart. She repeatedly asked about Tang Zheng's whereabouts, and seeing that the other party had been perfunctory, she knew that something was wrong. She immediately got up and left, but how could Long Tengyu let the cooked duck fly away? Thus, he simply revealed his true detestable face and planned to directly deal with Fang Sheshe in the private room. Fang Sheshe's reaction was very intense, but Long Tengyu was, after all, an 8th grade body refining realm cultivator, much stronger than Fang Sheshe. After a while, he activated the spirit controlling array in the Jade Buddha, and because his attack was too powerful, the Jade Buddha directly shattered into a few pieces. Long Tengyu's anger grew even stronger. He had even sent people to kill Tang Zheng. Could it be that he couldn't even deal with a woman of his? Thus, he immediately launched an attack. Fang Sheshe was not his match, and was surrounded by danger. In the end, he had no choice but to use the body securing technique. This time, she didn't even let the other party get close to her before using the body securing technique. This time, Long Tengyu finally discovered some clues. When Tang Zheng kicked the door in, he just happened to hear Long Tengyu say, "You are a cultivator." Tang Zheng's nerves instantly tensed up. Sheshe's identity as a cultivator had been exposed. His eyes immediately burst out with a terrifying cold light, filled with killing intent. Long Tengyu looked at Tang Zheng in disbelief, and said, "Why aren't you dead?" "Of course I won't die. If you dare to have any ideas about my girlfriend, then today will be the day you die," Tang Zheng said while gnashing his teeth. Long Tengyu gradually calmed down from his initial shock, and said disdainfully, "My death? Mate, you were lucky last time, but this time you came to provoke me again. It should be your death. Furthermore, your girlfriend is a cultivator. Haha, this is a huge secret. I think the people from the martial sect will be very interested. Even if I don't kill you, it will be difficult for you to escape the pursuit of the martial sect in the future." Obviously, Long Tengyu knew a lot about this, even more than Yi Tianlei. "As long as I kill you, no one will know our identities," Tang Zheng said. Long Tengyu rolled his eyes and said, So that's how it is. Not only is she a cultivator, you are also a cultivator. No wonder you have such strength at such a young age. But it's too late for you to know now. Tang Zheng had already made up his mind to kill. Before he finished speaking, he immediately pounced forward, the war soul sword glowing with a black light, thrusting towards Long Tengyu's chest. Long Tengyu turned pale with fright. This time, Tang Zheng did not hide his identity as a cultivator. The flying immortal from heaven sword technique was extremely sharp, and with just one move, he had forced Long Tengyu into a corner. Long Tengyu resisted in a sorry state, but it was like a mantis trying to stop a carriage. Puff! The war soul sword directly pierced into his stomach, and with a lift, he was sent flying to the door. Please recommend. Chapter 228. Long Shenyuan had previously thought of roping in Tang Zheng, but when he heard that Tang Zheng was a cultivator, this thought was thrown out of his mind, and even his anger towards Tang Zheng gradually subsided. Although, because of what Tang Zheng had done to Long Tengyu, Long Shenyuan had already listed him as an enemy, but he never thought that he would be a cultivator. Long Shenyuan was stunned for a long time before he regained his senses. He knew how powerful cultivators were, and he also understood that the relationship between the martial sect and cultivators was like fire and water. He did not even dare to offend the martial sect, and was even more afraid of cultivators. This was the attitude of ordinary people towards cultivators, to keep a respectful distance from them. They did not have as deep a foundation as the martial sect, and cultivators were too mysterious. It was said that they had the ability to overturn rivers and seas. Although Tang Zheng was definitely not that capable at the moment, he could not rule out the possibility that there was such a powerful expert behind him. Immediately, Long Shenyuan also understood why Tang Zheng was able to display so many extraordinary aspects at such a young age. Tang Zheng stared at Long Shenyuan. If the other party made a move, he would definitely not sit still and wait for death. Even if he had to risk his life, he would protect Fang Shusha. At most, he would escape into the 10,000 mountains, and it would not be easy for Long Shenyuan to deal with him. Long Xuanyuan's expression kept changing, but Long Tengyu could not hold it in any longer, and shouted, "Dad, did you hear what I said? They are cultivators, hurry up and capture them." "Shut up!" Long Shenyuan shouted, and Long Tengyu immediately shut up, staring at Tang Zheng hatefully. Tang Zheng was unmoved, he only cared about Long Xuanyuan's attitude. "Tang Zheng, you saved Nana and Hong Yang. This is a great kindness to the Long family. The Long family knows how to repay this kindness." Long Shenyuan finally spoke. Tang Zheng snorted disdainfully. "Is this how you repay kindness? You actually dare to do bad things to my girlfriend." Long Shenyuan glared fiercely at Long Tengyu. He was disappointed. He took a deep breath, suppressed the anger in his heart, and said, "This matter is indeed my son's fault, but it is an indisputable fact that you wanted to kill him just now. You should know that anyone who wants to kill the Long family will not be forgiven." Tang Zheng snorted in disdain. "Anyone who wants to hurt my family, I will definitely not let them off easily." Long Shenyuan frowned and said, "But because you have done a favor to the Long family, I will not care about the harm you to my son." When Long Tengyu heard this, he shouted unrelentingly, "Dad, how can we not bother with him? He almost killed me." Long Shenyuan turned a deaf ear and continued, "But I didn't expect you to be a cultivator. Cultivators and martial sect are mortal enemies. I think you should be very clear about this. I don't want to be associated with martial sect, and even more so, I don't want to be entangled with cultivators. So, from today onwards, we will write off everything that happened in the past, and pretend that nothing happened." Long Shenyuan did not want to bear the infamy of killing his benefactor, nor did he want to offend martial sect and cultivators, so he simply pretended that nothing had happened. He actually made such a decision. Tang Zheng was greatly surprised. He was already prepared to fight to the death. However, this decision was the most beneficial to him. "Is that true?" Long Shenyuan nodded. "Of course. Could it be that the moment I left, you guys sold me out?" Tang Zheng asked vigilantly, his gaze sweeping over Long Tengyu's body. Long Shenyuan was very clear about what Tang Zheng meant, so he said to Long Tengyu solemnly, "Tengyu, from today onwards, keep your mouth shut about today's matter, especially their cultivator identity. If you dare to mention it to outsiders, don't blame me for being impolite. Long Tengyu's heart trembled. He did not understand why his father was so cautious about Tang Zheng. Killing these two people, or capturing them and handing them over to martial sect, wouldn't it be easy? But looking at his father's stern expression, he understood what his father's gaze meant, and that was to not give him a chance to object. Long Tengyu gritted his teeth in hatred, but he had no choice but to nod and agree. All right, I won't tell anyone. Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. Although he did not believe that Long Tengyu would keep his mouth shut, at least for the time being, he would not reveal this news to the outside world, which was enough. Tang Zheng was confident that he could quickly increase his cultivation, especially after discovering the witch clan. The spirit qi in the 10,000 mountains was abundant, which could allow his cultivation to increase rapidly. But I have a request. From now on, you, Hongyang and Nana are not allowed to come into contact with each other. I don't want anyone in the Long family to have anything to do with you. Long Shenyuan added. Tang Zheng hesitated for a moment, and said, I can promise you that I will not take the initiative to come into contact with them. His identity as a cultivator was indeed very dangerous. If he did not come into contact with this pair of mother and daughter, it would indeed be beneficial for them. As for the fact that he had promised Mu Hongyang to teach Nana the cultivation method, there was no need to be in a hurry. In any case, she was still young. Then you can leave. Long Shenyuan stepped aside. I'll go back to the lakeside villa to get my luggage and leave. Tang Zheng held Fang Shusha's hand and walked out of the private room. The heaven horse was waiting in the hall, and when it saw the two of them coming out, it immediately went up to them affectionately. Fang Shusha had just recovered from her panic, and when she saw the tall white horse, she was extremely surprised. This is our horse. Tang Zheng gently carried Fang Shusha onto the horse's back, got on the horse, protected Fang Shusha in his arms, and left the scene. Dad, why did you let them go? Long Tengyu held onto his stomach. The pain caused his facial muscles to contort as he asked unwillingly. Long Shenyuan turned around and stared at him. Long Tengyu was shocked. He took a step back and said, Dad, why are you looking at me like that? Pa. A loud slap landed on Long Tengyu's face, causing Long Shenyuan to fly into a rage. You disappointing thing, do you know that you almost got into big trouble? Long Tengyu sucked in a breath of cold air from the pain, and said with a sullen face, Dad, I didn't do anything wrong, I even saw through their cultivator identity. Long Shenyuan said with disappointment, They are cultivators, do you know who else is behind them? If you provoke them, do you want the Long family to fall into a state of eternal damnation? Long Tengyu was a little stunned, and only after a long while did he say, Aren't cultivators the enemy of martial artists? Moreover, the people from the martial sect have been chasing after cultivators. Chumph, enemy, how many years ago was that? Only a one-track-minded person like the martial organization would keep on chasing and killing cultivators. Even the people from the Li Palace and the Azure Dragon Hall turn a blind eye to cultivators. Does our Long family need to provoke them? Long Tengyu was speechless. It turned out that this matter was not as simple as he had imagined. If Tang Zheng heard this, he would definitely be overjoyed. It turned out that not everyone in this world saw cultivators as a thorn in their side. Only the people from the martial sect would chase after cultivators, which meant that his enemies were not as many as he had imagined. In short, let's pretend that today's matter did not happen. Don't provoke Tang Zheng in the future. Wang Fuchuan betrayed the Long family's interests, and the person behind the scenes is still in the dark. Your recent main focus is to thoroughly investigate this matter for me and find out the mastermind behind it. Long Tengyu was very unwilling, but he had no choice but to accept this result. When Tang Zheng returned to the lakeside villa, Mu Hongyang and Nana were already waiting at the door. Mu Hongyan's expression was very complicated. She had already received a strict order from Long Shenyuan to not have any contact with Tang Zheng in the future, and did not explain the reason. Mu Hongyang was confused. Tang Zheng was such a big help. If he was to rope him in, it would definitely be beneficial to the Long family in the future. But since Long Shenyuan did not explain the reason, she had no choice but to ask Tang Zheng. However, when she heard about what Long Tengyu had done to Fang Shusha, She was immediately shocked and angry. Long Tengyu was actually so crazy. Brother godly doctor, you're back. Nana threw herself into Tang Zheng's embrace, hugged his legs with both hands, and shouted with red eyes. Looking at her pitiful appearance, Tang Zheng quickly carried her up. He would not be able to see this girl for a short period of time. Brother godly doctor, that day when you and mother fell off the cliff, you really scared Nana to death. Nana thought that you would never come back, woo. As she spoke, she wiped away her tears. Tang Zheng hurriedly comforted her. Nana, don't cry, your mother and I can't bear to part with you, how could we not come back? Nana smiled through her tears. Ian, Nana is so obedient, she is a good child, you definitely won't abandon Nana. Suddenly, her eyes turned, and her gaze was attracted by the heavenly horse. She excitedly shouted, wow, horse, what a beautiful horse. With a bell-like laughter, she pounced towards the heavenly horse. Tang Zheng hurriedly stopped her. This beast was too arrogant, so he did not want to send this girl flying with a kick. I want to ride a horse, I want to ride a horse. Nana kept waving her hands, and couldn't wait to say. Tang Zheng had no choice but to carry him onto the horse. Nana hugged the horse's back, and giggled. Seeing his daughter's happy expression, Mu Hongyang felt bitter in his heart. He would not be able to see Tang Zheng in the future, and Nana would definitely be very sad. Tang Zheng, what exactly happened? Why did father make such a decision? Mu Hongyang could not help but ask. Tang Zheng then told him what had happened, and Mu Hongyang was furious. Long Tengyu, I never thought that he would be such a beast with a human face. After saying that, he hurriedly grabbed Fang Shusha's hand. Shusha, luckily you're fine, otherwise I would have felt guilty for the rest of my life. Fang Shusha had already regained her composure. Am I not fine now? Besides, this is not your fault. However, they already know our identity as cultivators, so they made this decision. At least this decision is beneficial to both sides for the time being. Tang Zheng said. Mu Hongyang said resentfully, all of this happened because of me. If I hadn't invited you to South Yunnan, then none of this would have happened. Tang Zheng shook his head. I originally wanted to come and see you, and I also came for your husband's magic treasure. Fang Shusha was already clear that Mu Hongyang knew their identity, and knew that her husband was also a cultivator. Hearing them mention the magic treasure, she said, Tang Zheng, we can't come here in the future. Last time, you looked for it alone, this time, we'll look for it together for the last time. If we really can't find it, then it means that it's not your fate. Tang Zheng's heart moved, one more person, one more chance, and she was right, if he couldn't find it this time, then it would be very difficult to come to the Long family in the future, and this magic treasure would really be covered in dust forever. Chapter 229. Inside the training room, Tang Zheng, Fang Shusha, and Mu Hongyang searched the room again, but they still found nothing. There were no hidden compartments or secret rooms in the room, so it was very difficult to hide anything. Fang Shusha stood in the middle of the training room, looking at the glass roof above her head. The water was sparkling, reflecting the lights in the room, making it very beautiful. Tang Zheng, did you check the roof? Fang Shusha asked. Roof? Tang Zheng was very puzzled, and Mu Hongyang looked up at the same time. The glass roof was empty, and even if they were standing on the ground, they could still see it clearly. Mu Hongyang said, this roof has not changed much from before. I believe that your husband must have hidden the magic treasure in this house, and you also said that this training room is the most likely place, so it should be here. We have already looked everywhere, but this roof is the only place we haven't looked. Fang Shusha analyzed. Okay, I'll go find a ladder. Tang Zheng was treating a dead horse as a living horse, so he didn't lack this little bit of effort. After a while, he found a ladder and climbed up. The glass roof was very smooth, and Tang Zheng felt it again, but there was no place to hide anything. Tang Zheng, use your qi to sense it. Fang Shusha suggested. Tang Zheng's mind flashed, and a light flashed in his mind. That's right, the magic treasure must be able to sense qi. Why was he so stupid before, and didn't think of this move? He simply closed his eyes and used his qi, and his qi spread out from his meridians. In an instant, his qi filled the entire roof. Heh! Suddenly, he found a special place. The glass in the middle of the roof had a slight reaction, and when his chi spread out, there was a slight fluctuation. He was happy, knowing that he had found the target, so he followed the feeling and touched that piece of glass. It was very smooth, and he couldn't feel anything with his palm. But the reaction of his chi made him very sure that there was something wrong. Illusion. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat, and he immediately thought of this magic. Back then, Tian Chanzi had used this magic to create a fake exam ticket for him. That illusion could last for 2 days, but this illusion had obviously lasted for several years. It was obviously a very powerful illusion. In fact, if it were a few years ago, even if Tang Zheng used his Jin Qi to sense it, it would be useless. At that time, the illusion had just been cast and its power was very strong. Now, with the passage of time, the effect of the illusion was weakening, so he could sense it with his Jin Qi. Then he must also be a first-grade foundation establishment cultivator, because only first-grade foundation establishment cultivators can cultivate illusions. Tang Zheng could not help but sigh. A first-grade foundation establishment stage expert had actually died in the hands of Daoist Tianji. It was truly not easy for him to escape from the hands of Daoist Tianji. Since it was confirmed that it was an illusion, then everything was much simpler. Tian Chanzi had taught him the secrets of illusion, so he silently chanted an incantation in his heart. With a wave of his hand, his Jin Qi surged, and on the originally empty glass ceiling, an object as thin as a cicada's wing appeared. No wonder he didn't feel anything when he touched it. This thing was so thin, almost as if it was stuck to the glass, so it was hard to feel. He carefully took it down. This thing was the size of a palm, and there was a hole. He instantly thought of the Sumeru bag that Tian Chanzi had mentioned before. This was the Sumeru bag, a profound grade storage magic treasure. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. He had worked so hard, and if not for Fang Shusha's reminder, he would have almost missed this treasure. When he returned to the ground, Fang Shusha and Mu Hongyang coincidentally came over. Looking at the small bag in his hand that was as thin as a cicada's wing, they curiously asked, "What is this thing?" Sumeru bag, a profound grade magic treasure. Fang Shusha looked at this magic treasure with mixed feelings. At that time, her husband was tragically killed because of this magic treasure, so she hated the Sumeru bag even more. If not for it, then this family would not have been torn apart. Fang Shusha had also heard Tian Chanzi talk about the Sumeru bag's function. She was excited and said, "Can this small bag really hold a lot of things? Let's try it and we'll know." Tang Zheng operated his Jin Qi, and his divine sense immediately drilled into the Sumeru bag. A huge space suddenly appeared in front of him. This space was as big as the villa, and it was completely empty. Tang Zheng's thoughts moved, and he pulled out the War Soul Sword from his waist, and aimed it at the Sumeru bag's opening. With a whoosh, the War Soul Sword disappeared and entered the Sumeru bag's space. Fang Shesha and Mu Hongyang were dumbstruck as they looked at this scene. Even Mu Hongyang could not help but exclaim, "This is too amazing. This is not the most amazing thing. If it is an Earth-grade magic treasure's Sumeru bag, it can also hold living things, or even people." Tang Zheng recalled Tian Chanzi's introduction, and could not help but say with fascination, "Holding people, then isn't this a moving house? People can still live inside." Mu Hongyang exclaimed, "Yes, but right now I'm just a moving warehouse, but this is enough for me. No matter where I go in the future, I can carry the War Soul Sword with me, and even more things." Tang Zheng said, unable to contain his joy. Now that he was facing more and more dangers, he had to carry the War Soul Sword with him, but many times it was not convenient to carry it. After all, this was modern society, and it was not allowed to run around with a sword in broad daylight. The Sumeru bag just happened to solve this problem. "Sister Mu, thank you for giving this magic treasure to me," Tang Zheng said to Mu Hongyang. Mu Hongyang said indifferently, "This magic treasure is very useful to you, but it is useless to me. Moreover, my husband also met with misfortune because of it, so if I leave it in this house, I will feel uncomfortable." Tang Zheng nodded, indicating that he understood. "After this farewell, the Long family will definitely be on guard against me coming to see you and your mother again, so we don't know when we will be able to meet again. However, don't worry, I promised you that I would teach Nana magic, and I will definitely not forget this matter. Fortunately, she is still young, so there is no need to rush. When the time is right, I will come to find you again. Tang Zheng believed that in a few years, his strength would greatly increase, and even if it was Long Shenyuan, he would not have to be too afraid. Mu Hongyang said in understanding, I understand, we will wait for you to come back. Then we will take our leave first. There's no need to be in such a hurry. It's already late. Let's rest for the night and leave tomorrow. Tang Jing hesitated for a moment, then agreed. Are you going back to the mountains next? Mu Hongyang asked. Yes, I promised to help them break the restriction. I'll take advantage of my summer vacation to finish this matter. Tang Zheng had already made plans. I wish you success. The next morning, Mu Hongyang found a large truck and loaded the heaven horse into it. After all, riding a white horse in the middle of the day was too ostentatious. Furthermore, the matter of the horse race last night had caused an uproar, so the appearance of the white horse would definitely cause a commotion. Therefore, they were prepared to use the truck to bring them to the outskirts, and then ride back to the 10,000 mountains. Nana's eyes were red as she held onto Tang Jing's hand, reluctant to part with him. Brother Godly Doctor, are you really leaving? Can you stay and accompany Nana? Her delicate and pitiful appearance could almost melt one's heart. Tang Zheng squatted down, wiped away the tears from the corner of her eyes, and said, Nana, be good, when you grow up a little, Big Brother will come and see you, okay? I believe that Nana will definitely be even more beautiful at that time. Woo! But Nana wants to accompany Big Brother, Nana can't bear to part with you. Seeing that, Mu Hongyang could not help but feel a strong sense of sadness in his heart, and his mind could not help but recall the time he spent with Tang Zheng. Without a doubt, this was the most extraordinary time in her life. She had experienced too many things that she had never experienced before. It was like a dream, making her feel like she was addicted to it. How good would it be if she could always live in that kind of fairy tale-like world? As soon as this thought popped out, she was shocked. She glanced at Tang Zheng and quickly shifted her gaze away. What's wrong with me? How can I have such thoughts? She was a little flustered as she clutched her chest, trying her best not to show any abnormalities. Tang Zheng comforted her for a long time, but Nana still kept crying. In the end, under her tearful eyes, he and Fang Shusha got into the car. Nana kept waving her small hands. Brother Godly Doctor, Nana will miss you, you must also miss Nana, woo. The car started. Tang Zheng was in a very low mood. Fang Shusha snuggled up to him and comforted him. There will be a day when we meet again in the future, don't be so sad. Tang Zheng squeezed out a smile, let out a long breath, and said, I know, as long as I become stronger as soon as possible, this day will come sooner. The car stopped in the suburbs. The two of them changed to heaven horses and galloped towards the 10,000 huge mountains. This was the first time Fang Shusha had seen such a primitive forest scenery. She was extremely excited. She only had a little understanding of the mysterious witch clan from Tang Zheng's words. She had no idea what would happen on this trip, but she was filled with anticipation. This was an adventure that belonged to her and Tang Zheng. The corner of her mouth hooked up into a smile that came from the bottom of her heart. After passing through the swamp and miasma, they finally arrived at the periphery of the witch clan tribe after spending half a day. With a sharp whistle, a few people jumped out from the dense forest. When they saw that it was Tang Zheng, they all bowed respectfully. Lord Envoy has returned. This news was quickly spread back. When the two of them arrived at the entrance of the tribe, hundreds of witch clan people were already there to welcome them. When Mu Hongyang saw the hundreds of witch clan people dressed in simple and unadorned attire, her eyes widened in curiosity, and her heartbeat involuntarily sped up. Welcome back, Lord Envoy. The elder took the lead and knelt down towards Tang Zheng. The others also kowtowed. Welcome back, Lord Envoy. Hundreds of people's shouts shook the mountains and wilderness. It was as if a heavy hammer had struck Fang Shusha's heart. Seeing all these people, old and young, respectfully kneel down in front of her husband, she felt as if her heart was being overturned. This was her man. He could make countless people submit to him. Now, there were hundreds of people. She believed that in the future, he would definitely be able to go even higher and make even more people submit to him. Chapter 230. During this time, Tang Zheng went to the sacred ground again and absorbed all of the innate qi for the giant egg. The positions of the 4 stone statues changed once again, and the restrictions were weakened even further. Tang Zheng's confidence doubled, and he continued to work hard to cultivate, but this time he placed his gaze on the chaotic Vajra spell. Since he had decided to temper his body, this cultivation technique was the most suitable. Moreover, the elder had a good understanding of the chaotic Vajra spell, so he could carefully guide Tang Zheng. The chaotic Vajra spell was divided into 5 stages: copper skin, iron bones, steel, diamond, and indestructible. If one reached the indestructible realm, then their body would be indestructible and indestructible. Tang Zheng used the witch clan's secret medicine, and after a few days, his skin gradually hardened, like a layer of copper skin. Ordinary blades and swords would only cut into his skin a little, and would not be able to move an inch. In addition, the innate qi in his body had already reached 9.8 inches. He was just 2 minutes away from entering the foundation establishment stage and making a qualitative leap. At noon, when he walked out of the cave once again, Fang Shisha, the elder, and Yi Yuan, who were waiting outside, hurriedly went up to welcome him. "Lord Envoy, how is it?" the elder asked anxiously. Plus, Tang Zheng shook his head. "That giant egg is like a bottomless pit, it still doesn't have much of a reaction." He had always been curious about the white light that rose from the giant egg in the mural after it shattered. However, his power was limited, and it would take some time for him to break the giant egg. Sometimes, he had the illusion that he was like an old hen that was hatching chicks, working hard to hatch this giant egg. Boom! All of a sudden, a loud noise interrupted his train of thought. A large patch of trees at the foot of the Holy Land's mountain broke apart. More and more towering trees broke apart, forming a wide road. This road meandered forward, heading straight for the cave. The elder's expression changed. "What's going on? Ah Yuan, quickly go and take a look." Ah Yuan jumped and rushed down from the top of the mountain. The rumbling sounds of trees breaking became louder and louder, and the few of them looked down the mountain nervously. "Elder, has something like this ever happened before?" Tang Zheng asked. The elder shook his head. "No, the sacred mountain has always been very quiet. Ordinary animals don't dare to come close. There must be something fishy going on." Everyone's nerves tensed up. Not long after, Yi Yuan returned the way he came from. His face was ashen as he shouted, "Mang Jiao, Lord, Elder, it's Mang Jiao." The elder's expression changed greatly. Why did this beast come to the holy mountain? Wasn't it always in the swamp? Tang Zheng knew the situation was not good, so he asked, "Elder, what is a Mang Jiao?" "It's a huge snake that lives in the swamp all year round. I don't know how long it has lived. Some of our clansmen were eaten by it before. Later on, we organized many people to hunt it down, but it escaped. I didn't expect it to appear again today. This beast is already evolving into a flood dragon. Its strength is extraordinary," the elder explained. Tang Zheng subconsciously thought of the red-chained snake that he had met when he was searching for the heaven-fragrant flower in the ordinary Balance Mountain. That red-chained snake had already gained intelligence and was a demonic beast. Tang Zheng had spent a lot of effort to kill it and consume its nidin to raise his cultivation. He really did not expect to meet another demonic beasts in the 10,000 huge mountains. However, from the other party's formation, it was obvious that it was not something a small demonic beasts like the red-chained snake could compare to. "All of you protect me. I need to quickly recover my innate qi." Tang Zheng did not say anything else. He sat down cross-legged and consumed a spirit-gathering pill. He activated the ancient clear heaven scroll, and the spiritual energy between heaven and earth quickly gathered towards him. The elder stood in front of Tang Zheng and Fang Shisha and said, "Miss Fang, take good care of Lord Envoy. Ah Yuan and I will deal with this beast." Fang Shisha was a little nervous. She nodded her head and guarded in front of Tang Zheng, not allowing any enemies to approach. The elder and Yi Yuan looked at each other, and saw determination in each other's eyes. Back then, the entire clan was unable to do anything to this python, and now, it was not easy for the two of them to stop it. However, for the sake of the envoy's safety, and even more so for the safety of the sacred grounds, they absolutely could not allow this beast to approach. In fact, the elder and Tang Zheng both understood that there must be a reason why the flood dragon, which had never dared to approach the sacred land, suddenly launched an attack. It was probably related to the giant egg or the mysterious restriction. All of this was related to whether or not the witch clan could safely leave the 10,000 huge mountains. Therefore, no matter what, they did not dare to take this risk. They could not turn a blind eye to it and had to keep the python outside the cave. Even if they had to sacrifice themselves, they would not hesitate. Therefore, the elder and Yi Yuan were determined to die. The determination on their faces was not a joke. Boom! A towering tree in front of the cave was cut in half, and a huge creature as thick as a bucket appeared. This was a python that was about 30 meters long. Its entire body was covered in scales, and there was a golden scale on its forehead. This was the mark of the python's transformation into a flood dragon. When a golden horn grew out from this golden scale, it would become a true flood dragon, and its strength would increase greatly. The python flood dragon's upper body stood up, looking down at the crowd like a tiger eyeing its prey. Its pair of eyes were as big as two fists, revealing an ominous glint. The two poisonous fangs in its mouth emitted a faint cold light, and its scarlet tongue flickered incessantly, the stench assailing their nostrils. This was the first time Fang Shusha had seen such a demonic beasts. Her heart could not help but tremble, but she still tried her best to suppress the fear in her heart and stood firm. The elder pointed at the python and roared with a loud voice, "Bastard, what are you doing in my sacred grounds? Why aren't you retreating?" The python dragon was unable to speak. It could only stare at the cave behind the crowd, revealing an undisguised expression of greed. The elder's heart tightened. This beast was indeed here for the cave. It must have been the changes during this period of time that attracted its attention. No matter what, he could not let this beast succeed. Roar! The python dragon let out a strange roar, and its bloody mouth directly bit towards the few of them. Attack! The elder roared. Yi Yuan rushed into the sky, and smashed his huge fist directly onto the python dragon's head. Bang! After the python dragon ate the punch, it let out another angry roar, and with a tilt of its neck, it bit towards Yi Yuan. The tip of Yi Yuan's foot tapped on its body, and he flew backwards, hugging onto a big tree to stabilize his body. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew, and the python dragon's huge black tail swept across the sky. Kacha! The big tree was broken by the huge tail, and Yi Yuan and half of the tree trunk fell down together, smashing fiercely onto the ground. However, Yi Yuan was not injured. Seeing the huge tail sweeping over again, Yi Yuan immediately picked up the huge tree trunk and went forward to welcome it. At this time, his innate divine strength came into play. He used the several hundred jin tree trunk as a weapon and fiercely collided with the huge tail, causing a section of the tree trunk to shatter. But Yi Yuan did not stop. He hugged the remaining tree trunk and fiercely smashed it onto the python dragon's body. Aoo! The python dragon roared in pain, and its huge body involuntarily rolled down the mountain. However, the python dragon's attack was not limited to that. Its tail wrapped around a few large trees, and it immediately stopped rolling. Please recommend. Chapter 231. Seeing that the python dragon was attacking again, Yi Yuan's expression changed greatly. He threw the elder to the ground and threw a huge fist in the air. Net bang! A fist smashed onto the python dragon's body. The python dragon roared and swept its tail, causing Yi Yuan to fly out. It smashed through countless towering trees before it fell limply from the sky, unable to move anymore. "Are you on?" The elder cried out involuntarily. His eyes were bloodshot as he stared at the python dragon. "Bastard, I will kill you." The elder rushed out again and soared into the air. He hugged the python dragon's body and climbed straight up, instantly arriving at the top of the python dragon's head. Just now, the python dragon had suffered a great loss at the hands of the elder. Seeing that the other party had climbed onto its head, it immediately rolled down on the ground, hoping to force the elder to retreat. However, the elder held onto his scales tightly and did not let go. The man and the python continued to roll on the mountain peak, breaking countless trees. However, the elder did not seem to be afraid of death and still did not let go. Suddenly, he roared and raised his hand that was grabbing onto the scales. Poochie! A golden light flew up. It was the golden scale armor on the python dragon's forehead. It was actually torn off by the elder. Immediately, the python dragon let out a heart-wrenching scream as it twisted in pain. The elder was finally sent flying by the huge force and landed heavily on the ground. His clothes were torn and many of his muscles were bleeding. He had turned into a bloody man. Bastard, I've broken your golden armor. Let's see how arrogant you can still be. The elder's mouth revealed a smile as he shouted weakly. The python dragon continued to twist and roll. The forest in front of the cave was directly razed to the ground by him. Sand and rocks flew everywhere. It was a complete mess. Suddenly, the python dragon stopped moving. The elder was overjoyed. He knew that the golden scale armor was the python dragon's fatal weakness. Could it be that it was killed just like that? Fang Shusha was already dumbstruck. This kind of desperate battle had deeply shocked her. Her hand that was holding onto the war soul sword could not help but tremble. Seeing that the python dragon was motionless, could it be that this beast was dead? She raised her eyebrows and was about to heave a sigh of relief when suddenly, the python dragon leaped into the air and pounced towards her and Tang Zheng. Roar! The sharp roar seemed to be able to tear people's eardrums, but what was even more frightening was the pair of huge eyes and the terrifying bloody mouth. Miss Fang, be careful. Seeing this, the elder wanted to save him, but it was too late. This was because he was seriously injured this time, and his strength was greatly reduced. It was impossible for him to launch an effective attack. Seeing the flood dragon rushing over, Fang Shusha's frightened heart suddenly calmed down. Her trembling hands also became abnormally steady. She glanced at Tang Zheng, whose eyes were tightly shut, from the corner of her eyes. She clenched her teeth. She couldn't retreat. If she retreated, her beloved would fall into eternal damnation. In the past, it was always Tang Zheng who protected her. Now, it was her turn to protect Tang Zheng. With a shout, War Soul Sword fiercely swung out. Whoosh! The War Soul Sword that was suffused with a black light streaked across the sky and slashed onto the black scale armor. Sparks flew in all directions, but it was actually unable to injure it. The flood dragon's bloody mouth fell down, as if it wanted to swallow Fang Shusha whole. Die! Fang Shusha raised her sword and thrusted forward. The War Soul Sword shone with a black light, and the flood dragon seemed to have felt the power of the War Soul Sword. It tilted its head, causing the War Soul Sword to pierce empty air. Whoosh! Suddenly, a stinky green mist sprayed out from the flood dragon's mouth, pouncing towards Fang Shusha. Fang Shusha instinctively wanted to hold her breath, but it was already too late. She had already inhaled a few wisps of green mist, and her brain immediately became dizzy. This green mist was poisonous. Fang Shusha was overwhelmed with shock. She wanted to raise her War Soul Sword and stab at the flood dragon, but found that her entire body was weak and powerless, and she couldn't help but fall down. All the threats had been removed, and the flood dragon's target had changed to Tang Zheng. This was because it felt threatened by Tang Zheng. Its bloody mouth bit down once again, as if it wanted to bite off Tang Zheng's head in one bite. No! Fang Shusha shouted, but she was powerless and had no way to resist. The elder also shouted from afar, "Bastard, you are not allowed to harm Lord Envoy." Tang Zheng was the hope of the witch clan. If Tang Zheng died, then the witch clan would be trapped here for generations to come. The elder was powerless, his face ashen. Suddenly, a strong wind blew, and countless tiny red lights rose from the soil, rocks, trees, and grass all over the mountain, and then flew towards Tang Zheng, drilling into his skin. In that moment, Tang Zheng's entire body shone with a red light. The flood dragon's eyes revealed doubt and shock, but it did not stop attacking, and was about to bite off Tang Zheng's head. Tang Zheng's eyes suddenly opened, a red light flashed in his eyes, and he punched out with both fists. Boom! Boom! The flood dragon's head caved in from the 2 punches, and its huge body tumbled backwards. Tang Zheng stood up, his eyes bright and full of expression, an indescribable pressure spread out. His aura had undergone an earth-shattering change. Just now, he had used the spirit-gathering pill in a hurry, but he discovered that the spirit energy in the sacred ground was even more abundant. Especially the last bit of red light that he had absorbed, there seemed to be a strange power within it, causing his genuine chi to soar, instantly breaking through the threshold and reaching the first stage of the foundation establishment stage. The genuine chi in his body had also undergone an earth-shattering change. Originally, the genuine chi was in a gaseous state, flowing through his meridians, but now, the genuine chi was transforming from a gaseous state to a liquid state, and the genuine chi in the 9 main meridians was suddenly compressed, once again becoming an inch, but it was even more condensed. Although the amount of genuine chi in the 9 main meridians seemed to have decreased, there was no doubt that the power had increased by several times. This was the extraordinary part of the first stage of the foundation establishment stage. Tang Zheng immediately supported Fang Shusha to sit against the mountain wall. Fang Shusha said weakly, "Tang Zheng, I'm sorry, I couldn't protect you well." Tang Zheng forced out a smile and said, "Silly girl, you have already protected me well, now it's my turn to protect you. Rest first, wait for me to kill this beast." He raised the War Soul Sword and walked towards the Flood Dragon step by step. The War Soul Sword felt its master's anger and fighting spirit, and excitedly cried out. He glanced at the elder who was lying in the distance, but did not see any trace of Yi Yuan. The elder's originally despairing heart was overjoyed when he saw that Tang Zheng had recovered his vision. He used all his strength to shout, "Lord Envoy, it's great that you're fine." Tang Zheng nodded at him, then locked his gaze onto the flood dragon. The flood dragon's eyes released a cold light, and blood flowed out from the wound on its forehead, covering its triangular head, making it look even more terrifying. Roar! The flood dragon roared, its huge tail sweeping across the air like a thunderbolt. Tang Zheng also made his move, the War Soul Sword blazing with a black light. Please recommend. Chapter 232. The flood dragon let out a sharp scream and started to twist crazily, using its head to hit the ground. However, Tang Zheng held onto the sword hilt tightly, allowing the sharp sword to completely sink into it. Please add, the 2 pairs of eyes were so close that they could see the burst of light in each other's eyes. However, the flood dragon was filled with the unwillingness of the dying Urza, while Tang Zheng was filled with an irresistible killing intent. Finally, the flood dragon's screams gradually subsided. Its pupils began to dilate as its life force slowly drained away. With a boom, the flood dragon fell limply to the ground, completely dead. Tang Zheng pulled out his War Soul Sword and walked towards the elder. "Elder, how are your injuries?" The elder squeezed out a smile with difficulty. "We won't die, Lord Envoy. We didn't manage to protect you well, we deserve to die 10,000 times. Tang Zheng immediately stopped him. "Elder, I should be the one saying that. I am your envoy, yet I was unable to protect you. It is my dereliction of duty to let you take the risk." The elder's eyes were filled with emotion. "I'll go take a look at Yi Yuan first." Tang Zheng walked down the mountain path and finally found Yi Yuan. He was unconscious. Tang Zheng checked and saw that his muscles and bones were injured, but it was not life-threatening. It was already not easy to survive the battle with the flood dragon. The witch clan's resistance to attacks was indeed strong. After waking Yi Yuan up, the 2 of them returned to the entrance of the cave, only to discover that Fang Shusha had already fainted, and her face was gradually covered in a layer of green. The elder turned pale with fright. "Lord Envoy, Miss Fang was poisoned by the snake venom just now. Hurry up and give her the medicine." As he spoke, he took out a porcelain bottle from his bosom. Tang Zheng was shocked. He was recovering his power earlier and did not know that she had been poisoned by the snake venom. He did not dare delay and immediately fed her a pill. The green color on her face had not completely faded, but it was controlled and did not spread to other places. In the end, it gathered on her forehead and formed a small dot. Tang Zheng knew that something was wrong, and hurriedly asked, "Elder, Her snake venom does not seem to have been completely removed. The elder was bewildered. After observing for a long time, he said, "Yes, this flood dragon's poison is many times more potent than ordinary snake venom. My pill is effective against ordinary snake venom, but it can't completely remove the flood dragon's poison. Then what should we do? Will she be in danger?" Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. He would rather be poisoned himself than let Fang Shusha be poisoned, let alone if anything happened to her. "Lord Envoy, don't worry. The poison in her body is temporarily under control. When we return, I will carefully look for a way to detoxify it," the elder said. Tang Zheng breathed a sigh of relief for the time being, but he hated that flood dragon to the core. Fang Shusha slowly woke up and saw Tang Zheng's ashen face. She hurriedly asked, "What happened? Where's that Mang Jiao?" Before Tang Zheng had killed the Mang Jiao, she had fainted due to the poison. Tang Zheng quickly hugged her tightly and comforted her. "Don't worry, I've already killed that beast." Fang Shusha revealed an expression of relief. "That's good, it's too powerful, I'm not its match. Don't talk for now, rest well." Fang Shusha supported his arm and stood up, revealing a smile. "Don't think of me as so weak, I'm fine." Seeing that she was really fine, Tang Zheng was slightly relieved. However, when he saw the green color on her forehead, his heart could not completely relax. "Lord Envoy, this beast is strange. Do you think it was attracted by the things in the cave?" the elder asked worriedly. Tang Zheng glanced at the cave and said with a frown, "There is a high chance that it is that huge egg. That is definitely not an ordinary thing. For the python dragon to be so impatient to obtain something, it must be a treasure." The elder said, "That's for sure. After all, this is the holy land of my witch clan, and the things inside are sacred objects of the witch clan. Of course they are treasures, but this holy land has existed for who knows how many years. Why didn't that Mang Jiao come to the holy land before, but now?" This was the same question that troubled the few of them. They looked at each other in dismay, and finally cast their gazes towards Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng thought for a long time, then asked, "Elder, why weren't there any animals on this mountain before? According to the ancestors of the witch clan, there are also restrictions in the sacred grounds, so the fierce birds and beasts do not dare to approach. But this time, the Mang Jiao came up the mountain. Could it be that this restriction has also weakened?" Tang Zheng guessed. The elder thought for a moment, then nodded. "There is indeed such a possibility. Sir, you have weakened the restrictions on the witch clan in the 10,000 mountains, so the restrictions on the sacred grounds must have also been weakened. That's why this beast dared to trespass into the sacred grounds. That means the sacred grounds are no longer safe. There will be other beasts attacking in the future." Hearing that, the elder's expression changed greatly. He looked at the cave and said worriedly, "Then what should we do? The sacred objects of the witch clan are definitely not allowed to be touched by these beasts. Furthermore, the sacred objects are related to the fate of the witch clan, so they are definitely not allowed to be lost. Elder, when you go back, send your clansmen to patrol the sacred grounds. I'll guard this place first." Tang Zheng sighed and said, "That's the only way. Thank you for your hard work, sir. I'll stay behind to accompany the envoy," Yi Yuan said. The elder nodded and went down the mountain alone. When he passed by the python flood dragon's corpse, he stopped and said, "Sir Envoy, this python flood dragon's entire body is a treasure. It cannot be wasted, especially the inner core in its stomach. It is greatly beneficial to cultivation." Tang Zheng thought of the red-chained snake's inner core and nodded his head to show that he understood. "Shusha, sit down and rest first. I'll take this python flood dragon's inner core." Fang Shusha was eager to give it a try. "I'll go with you, I've never seen an inner core before. This python flood dragon is a demonic beast. As long as it is a demonic beast, it will have an inner core. The inner core contains the spirit energy of heaven and earth, and is also the essence of the demonic beast. After consuming it, one's cultivation will increase greatly," Tang Zheng said. Yi Yuan also nodded his head in agreement. However, this demonic beast's inner core is only useful to cultivators, because a normal person's body would not be able to withstand so much energy. Cultivators can circulate their energy and refine it. Tang Zheng looked at Yi Yuan with admiration. Although he was not able to cultivate yet, he knew a lot. Yi Yuan understood the look in his eyes, scratched his head and said, "This was all taught to us by the elders. The elders are the ones who understand the most in our witch clan. You're injured, so you should rest well," Tang Zheng warned. Yi Yuan shook his head. "Sir Envoy, I don't know how many times I've been injured while hunting. Although it's a little heavier this time, it won't take my life. When the elders bring back the medicine to treat me, it won't be a big problem." Tang Zheng did not try to persuade him anymore. The few of them arrived in front of the python flood dragon's corpse. Its body, which was over 10 feet long, meandered through the forest. If an ordinary person were to see such a huge monster, they would probably be so scared that they wouldn't dare to move. Only this group of fierce people would dare to fight against it so bravely. "Sir Envoy, let me do this kind of work," Yi Yuan volunteered. Tang Zheng shook his head. "Its scales are incomparably hard, ordinary weapons would not be able to harm it in the slightest. Even if it is my war soul sword, if I do not activate my innate qi, I will not be able to harm it, so let me do it." Tang Zheng activated his innate qi, and the war soul sword glowed with a black light. With a few slashes, the python flood dragon's stomach was cut open. The scales of the python flood dragon were as hard as iron, but the flesh inside was very fresh and tender. Yi Yuan said, "The entire body of the python flood dragon is a treasure, its scales can be used as armor, and its meat contains more spirituality than the meat of ordinary animals. It is also a good thing to refine one's muscles and bones. Back then, when it ate our clansmen, we gathered the power of our entire clan to kill it and use its flesh to help our clansmen refine their muscles and bones. Now, Sir Envoy has finally helped us achieve this wish. Oh, the python flood dragon actually has so many benefits." Tang Zheng's heart moved. "Then are there any other demonic beasts in the 10,000 huge mountains?" Tang Zheng's strength had increased greatly. If he could hunt demonic beasts and obtain enough demonic beasts' inner cores, then his and Fang Shusha's power would increase by leaps and bounds. Yi Yuan shook his head regretfully. "There are still a lot of ordinary beasts in this mountain, but a demonic beasts like this python flood dragon that has already gained intelligence is very rare." Suddenly, he paused for a moment, and said hesitantly, "But I've heard the elders mention a place before. It's a forbidden area, at the westernmost part of the 10,000 huge mountains." Tang Zheng was overjoyed, and asked, "Then do you know the specific situation of that forbidden area?" Yi Yuan shook his head. "Our clansmen never go to that place, but the elders should know a lot about it." Tang Zheng made up his mind that he would definitely ask the elders about this place later. "Tang Zheng, look at that shiny thing, isn't that the Niden?" Suddenly, Fang Shusha pointed to a sparkling and translucent thing the size of a baby's fist in the python flood dragon's abdomen. Tang Zheng and Yi Yuan looked over at the same time. If this wasn't an inner core, then what was it? Back then, the red chain snake's inner core that Tang Zheng had consumed was only the size of a fingernail, but this inner core was many times larger than that one, so the energy contained within could not be compared. Tang Zheng took it out and placed it in his palm. The inner core was sparkling and translucent, like a huge pearl. This was the first time Yi Yuan and Fang Shusha had seen this thing, and both of them opened their eyes wide at the same time, like two curious babies. "Shusha, hurry up and consume this inner core. It will help your cultivation," Tang Zheng said. Fang Shusha pouted and shook her head. "I don't want it, you were the one who killed the python flood dragon. Moreover, you need to raise your strength even more. My cultivation has just broken through, and I'm now at the first stage of the foundation establishment stage. If I rashly consume this inner core before I can consolidate it, it won't be of much benefit to you, so it's most suitable for you to consume it. In the future, you will also face danger alone, so you need to increase your strength as soon as possible." After the summer vacation, Fang Shusha would be going abroad. Without Tang Zheng by her side, Fang Shusha could only rely on herself, so he had to do his best to make her stronger. However, there was one thing he was lying about, and that was that it was not impossible for him to consume the inner core right now, but he could only use this excuse to persuade Fang Shusha to consume it. Otherwise, how could a stubborn girl bear to consume such a treasure? Fang Shusha did not suspect anything and excitedly accepted the Niden. She opened her mouth wide and swallowed the Niden. Immediately, countless amounts of energy entered her 8 extraordinary meridians. Hurry up and refine this energy, Tang Zheng warned. Fang Shusha immediately sat down cross-legged and activated the cloud water art. The Python Flood Dragon's energy was slowly refined by her, and her innate chi rapidly increased. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,